stink right now. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel. Joining me as always is Ronnie Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's up, man?
Mel, I'm good, bro. How you doing today?
Indians stink, but I'm okay. Browns lost, so I'm good. Now, with that being said, we have a very special guest on with us, joining us tonight. The Panther himself, Erik Betts. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yo, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on your show, man. It's pretty cool.
Now,
Hey,
uh, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm kind of stalling for time right now because
Okay.
we had something. Well, I'm not gonna say we. I'm gonna say me. I had something special planned for you because there is somebody who had wanted to say hi, and I told them I'm gonna say hi because I didn't feel like passing the message on would do you justice. So we're
Okay.
gonna wait
Okay.
for them to queue themselves up. But I figured if you, well, that's not even really if I thought this would be good because they were on the show a couple weeks back, and
okay, yeah.
when they found out that you were gonna be on the show, they said tell you, they said hi, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. We'll do that, but it still didn't do you justice. It wasn't going to do you justice. So
Nah,
Okay.
not even a little bit.
so
Okay. You got me curious now, man. I'm trying to.
hey,
there you go.
This is a good
hey, there you
setup. This is a
go.
good setup.
There
Hello,
we
hello.
go.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, there
Yo.
you
Wait.
go.
There
Long
it is.
time no see.
Is
Oh
this an
yeah.
old video? Because why does she still look the same? What's up with that?
If I had the power to actually edit like that, it would be. But she, this is a
Yep.
live
That is
video.
all real. No filter. No
Girl.
filters. No
How are
Snapchat
you?
Wow.
filters.
What are you
Yeah,
Man,
driving?
I've never.
I gotta get a baseball cap on or something. Girl, you look great,
Man,
man. How are you?
good. How are you?
I'm doing. Man, I haven't heard that Bostonian accent in forever. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Oh
Good.
man.
Yeah,
Are you
Wow, look at
are
you.
you in your car?
You know what? I am. I don't get out. I don't get out, man. LA right now is so smoggy. Right now we have a red sun. I'm looking outside, and so I'm just tired of being in the house. I just thought,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna do this in the car, be in a different space.
I hear
can't
ya.
knock it. Well,
Yeah.
I like I said, I wanted this to be
Christina.
special because I didn't think me or us passing along the message
No,
would do
no, you're
you
right.
justice. It
You're
would have been
right.
good for you to see
You're
her.
right.
So
Yeah, man.
and
Man,
to
it's
see
been
you
only
guys light
it's
up.
only been a little while, right, Christy? I can't even.
Yeah.
How long has it
Oh,
been?
just a minute.
Dang, dang,
Have you
dang.
seen
So
many of the gang or?
I haven't. I haven't. Only on Facebook or Instagram, but it's been I mean, literally anybody. The last time I had really spoken to anybody was probably Isaac Florentine when he lost his wife.
Wow.
Yeah. My family, we sent out some flowers and stuff to him, but it's been ages. It's
Yeah.
been ages. But he's doing
Well,
good. He's doing better.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good to hear. I don't know. I've seen not often, but I've seen like Chris Casamassa and Hakeem and Bernardo and
Okay, nice.
Carmichael
You saw Bernardo. Where's Bernardo?
in Canada.
Do you? I don't know if you know, but Mike and I did my first movie ever together. A movie called Shoot Fighter.
Yeah. We actually talked about that with Daniel Pacina last week because he was on.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I believe it or not, since you mentioned Hakeem, Hakeem was our first live stream show.
There you go. Hakeem and I fought in
And
that movie.
yeah, I saw that. I also had a couple of discrepancies with that movie because there were some things I didn't really think was scientifically possible until that movie came out. So rather than because I already asked Hakeem, so I'm gonna ask you. First off, whose idea was that for the big dude to rip the other dude's heart out at the end?
I don't know, man. Oh,
because scientifically, like
Oh,
let's get this out the way. Science was
yeah.
not my best subject back in school, but I did enough to pass and know the
yeah.
human heart is not supposed to have tubes still attached to it when you rip it out.
Nope.
It does when you have a budget of under 500,000.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll go with that. I'll go with that
The
because
movie was going so good up until that point, and then I just went, oh,
yeah,
why?
because
Why?
you know what? It had a decent story, and
Yeah, it
you
was
know, and Bolo. Granted, Bolo's English wasn't the best,
very
but
true.
he did enough to get everybody through and keep the conversation going when needed. So
Sure.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, this ain't a bad movie. You know,
And it was the first time he's ever played a good guy.
that's true too. That is very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the beginning of the movie, they're fighting, and the first scientific discrepancy I had was dude got his heart ripped, not his heart, but his throat ripped out. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, in Tiger Claw, back in the old kung fu movies, that might have been possible. Might have been possible. And then I'm watching the movie. I see you fight. I see Bernardo and Hakeem fight, and then I see the
Yep.
big dude rip the other dude's heart out with all the long tubes still attached. And I'm just like, all right, hold it. How does that work? How many tubes does a heart have? They connected. Because
Yeah.
that was like the weirdest. I can see where they got the heart rip fatality from Mortal Kombat 4, but I was like, man, come on, how many?
And that's it. That was
And
it
I
right there. That they were going after Mortal Kombat big time.
And the thing about it was that made me actually start looking up the human anatomy after I saw that because I was like, how does that?
Okay, see? So you got something positive out of that. You did a spin on that. You were like, yo.
It was still a good movie though. That type of thing makes you wonder, like, do hearts really got tubes? You know?
Let me tell you what's interesting. While we're having this conversation, I keep looking on the bottom left-hand side of my screen. I keep seeing Christine Bannon Rodriguez. And I'm looking, I'm like, yo, what is she doing there? Girl, you look incredible. I'm telling you, I'm amazed.
Thank you. You haven't changed at all.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but thank you, I think.
Well, I just wanted to come on and say hello. And I was a guest on the show a couple of weeks back, and he told me
and we appreciate you so much for that.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it.
I had
you're good. You're good, Christina. Your family, everybody happy and healthy and surviving this whole crazy time.
Yeah, everyone's good. You know, still running the school and doing our thing, and
good.
You know, it's a little different, but yeah, everything's good here.
That's amazing.
But I wanted to come on and say hello, and I didn't know I ended up having a family thing going on tonight, so I just wanted to pop in and say hello to everyone. And
I'm so glad you did.
See you in person.
So glad you did. Well, hey, I don't know if you remember, Christina. All my family's from Boston, so if next time we get out there when this world gets moderately back to normal, we'll have to catch up for sure.
Absolutely, I'm like an hour from Boston, so
okay,
very close.
Bet.
Well, it was great to put a smile on you guys' face. That's a great way to start the
show. Enjoy the show.
I promise.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks, Christine. Good seeing you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God! Now that was special. Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
Oh, we do what we can, man. We do what we can.
That was awesome.
Cause when we told her you were going to be on the show. Cause you know what? Honestly, we be reaching out to celebrities and football players alike, and we try to, let you guys know we don't have money, can't pay you, but we would love for you to be on the show.
No, that's awesome.
Like I said, Hakeem was the first one. And I just started looking at stuff that tagged you guys in it. And I'm like, some of y'all are still alive. Let me reach out and see. And you guys slowly start saying yes. And when she got on, we told her you were coming on eventually. And she's like, well, tell Erik I said hi. And I was like, I got a better idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Christine is one very talented woman, man. That is
yes, she is. Yes, she is. So, with you being on, take us
Yes,
through
yes.
humble beginnings. How did you get started in martial arts? What was life like for you growing up?
Well, it's funny that you asked that question today. We celebrated my Auntie Janet's 82nd birthday, and we were doing a
Nice.
Zoom call with all the family. And the cousin who got me inspired to do martial arts was her son Kendall. And Kendall, there used to be the old series Kwai Chain Kane, and we were just reliving this moment, talking about how we used to take the heads off of arrows, put napkins on them, then put some duct tape around it, and he put his back up against the garage, and the family members would take turns shooting arrows at him, and he was trying to chop them out of the sky. and
Nice.
I just remember I was, I'm about, I don't know, I think I'm about 7 or 8 years younger than him, so I'm sitting there watching this just in awe. Um, and so he took me to my first Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon, and I was done from that point forward. We came back to the house. He was taking old broomsticks and drilling 2 holes in them, and you take your shoelaces and you slide them through, and you're making your first pair of nunchucks, and he would spin them around, and I'm like, just amazed at the focus, his dedication, and when you grow up in a house where you don't have access to a lot of funds or access to a lot of schools, martial arts schools, extracurricular wise, everybody's you want it so bad that you work so much harder for it. You appreciate it, and any little thing you didn't have your VCR at the time, so you can't pause it. So you really got to pay attention, and you're watching each move, and you'll watch the movie over and over. Every time it comes on, you're studying it, trying to get a little more of the choreography, and so he just kept doing that, and I would just kind of mimic what he was doing, and then I just went from there. We eventually, by the time I was about, I don't know, 1978. So I'm in about 6th grade, and my mom is, I'm growing up in a single family household, and my mom wasn't able to afford, martial art classes and gymnastics classes. People don't realize, like,
They're very expensive.
they cost money, man. You grow up in a single family household, it's a lot of money. And then the more kids you got, forget it, man. You'll be explaining to your kids why they can't go to college because they took swim lessons.
We understand. We understand completely.
And so my mom came up with a cool plan, and she started looking at like a mile away any martial arts schools, and then 5 miles away. And so we just started doing trial free lessons and going in there. And I started getting experience with what it's like to be in that space by just having those free classes. And then I would come home and practice what I learned in the free class, like over and over again. And then my mom would take me to a place in Boston. There's a very popular and famous library called the Copley Library. If you guys ever saw the bombing that took place in Boston on Boylston Street, it was directly across the street from this very famous library. And so I went into that library, and I'm scanning all the pages of all these books that I wanted, because I needed so much information. It was more books than they would allow you to take at one time. And then I brought it home, and I'm putting holes in it, and I'm tying ribbons, and I'm trying to burn the edges to make it look like some kind of scroll, And I'm growing up watching. I grew up watching Kung Fu Theater, which in Boston was WLVI Channel 56 Kung Fu Theater. And so you turn that channel on. Yo, man, I mean, that's going back. I mean, again, we're talking 78. And so I'm sitting there studying this and watching these guys. And there was some show that came on called Five Deadly Venoms. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he's coming up, and he's going, and he's going, bah, and he's doing this movement. And I'm like, yo, I want to be like that. And so, they're flipping, and they're twisting, and they're kicking. And so and to remind you guys, this is early in 78. So right now we don't even have Star Wars, where I don't remember which one it is. Empire Strikes Back, I guess, where Luke Skywalker has Yoda on his shoulder, and he's running through the woods, and he starts flipping, and he's balancing on his hands and all that stuff. This is before that. And so I was training in the woods, running and flipping over logs. And when we saw the movie, my mom leaned over. She went, "Baby, you can do that." And I was like, yo, they made a Jedi out of me. How come there's no black Jedi?
But you know what? Movies like that have you believing you can do anything. And that's the beauty of
truth. Extremely inspiring. What one of the final classes I got to join for a full month, a whole month, was Wallum Kung Fu, and it was in Boston, across from the Boston Garden. And Sifu Yao Li was my instructor there. And every year, New Year's Eve, Boston has something called First Night, and you walk around, and there's ice sculptures around, and the galleries open up their doors, and they're showing paintings, and it's just open. It's an open festival for bringing in the new year. And we got to do a performance, and I got to wear a uniform and be out there with the other martial artists and do my thing. And I was so excited, because I'm a street tumbler, because I'm training in the woods. When you put me on the ground, or any kind of spring floor, or if I have sneakers on, I really jumped high. And there's a picture of me throwing a round off back handspring layout, which is where your body's perfectly straight in the air as you rotate over. And my body is horizontal, perfectly matched with the rim of the basketball net. I almost hit it. I had no clue that I was so excited and pumped up by people just going, come on, yeah. And so it was like, that was my first performance, man. And it was just nice to be part of a team. It was nice. I was living the dream at that point. And so, the martial arts teacher there, the sensei, his name was again Yao Li. Yao Li always called me Hollywood, and I never understood why he kept calling me Holly. He's like, "What's up, Hollywood? What's up, Hollywood?" Like, why? And he did, because everything I did was not because I studied it off the screen. It wasn't necessarily legit martial arts. It was Hollywood Kung Fu, and so I wasn't striking straight in and keeping the distance short. I'm hooking wide and coming in at angles, and he's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And so, training that way, taking all that I learned, gathering it all together, kind of a Jeet Kune Do approach, where you take from this school, that school, another school, and you're combining it all together. You're trimming away the fat a little bit, and you're combining what you saw all day long from 36 Chambers, Master of Kung Fu, to Five Deadly Venoms, to The Kid with the Golden Arms. I could just name these, Kung Fu Kid. I mean, I got them all, man. I got them all. Once Upon a Time in China. Like, these are my core. These are my core.
Classics.
Yeah, the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
Man. And so I ended up studying, especially once I got a VCR. Give you an idea how long ago that was. Once I got that VCR, I was able to pause it and then kind of work on my angles, make sure I was doing it right. And so I ended up learning almost all the katas from those guys. And, you know, you learn scorpion, you learn centipede, you learn lizard. I was training the way they did in those movies, putting on 5 and 10 pound leg weights and jumping up on doing plyometrics, trying to get my body stronger. And at one point, I ended up in a martial art tournament in Arlington, Massachusetts, where I wanted to know if I was any good, because for the most part, I'm self-taught. And I don't remember what I weighed. Whatever I weighed, it was 5 pounds less than the heavyweight that I could have ended up competing against. And so I get at this martial art tournament. This is a funny story. I get into this martial art tournament, and it's between some guy I had never heard before. He looked kind of mean. His name was Billy Blanks. And he was fighting some other guy. This guy's name, really big guy. His name was Mafia Holloway. And so I'm watching these brothers. They had their hands taped up, no gloves, and they were swinging full contact. And all you hear is, and when it was over, you see Billy standing over Mafia Holloway, his eyes bugging out. He's every bit of muscles shredded on this man. He's breathing over him. Like he just made his first kill. I remember at that moment, I knew full contact was not for this brother.
That is great.
It was at that moment.
That's a great story.
Erik Betts knew, no.
That is great, because you know what?
Stay in your lane.
Long time ago, I think I was still a teenager. I was just getting into my teens, actually, and that's when Tybo had started the craze of Tybo.
Yeah,
and Billy had that. So let's fast forward to, what is this, 2020? So So let's fast forward to like 2019, and we end up getting Amazon Prime. And they have this movie called King of the Kickboxers.
Oh yeah, baby. There you go.
I didn't realize how big Billy Blanks really was until I saw that movie.
Yep.
Because I was sitting up there,
Yep.
and Lauren Avito was I hope I got his name right, but he was the main character. Avedon. Okay, yeah. Lauren Avedon was main character, and he loses his brother. They're in Thailand, and Billy Blanks kills him. And I kept looking at the black dude. I was like, why does this dude look familiar? And they finally zoomed in on his face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, Tybo. And my mom's like, who? What?
Yep.
I'm like, Mom, that's Billy Blanks. And she's like, that's not him. Yes, that is. I didn't realize he was on steroids back then. I'm not saying that for real. It's a joke. Don't beat me up.
No.
Celebrities come looking for people now. I didn't realize he was that big.
People don't realize Billy is not just was, is the real deal. Billy's the original OG, man. Billy was out there long before all the little flashy Jean-Claude Van Dammes. And I mean, Billy's the real deal, dude.
Yeah. He had the high top fade and everything with the little ponytail, the braid tail.
He sure did.
I was like, yo, he killed this one dude in the fight because they was making snuff films. I was like, man, he ain't have to do him like that, man. You done killed the dude. You done basically overkilled him.
He overkilled him.
He did. They was shooting in the car scene. I guess it was a car garage, and dude was beating up everybody else. Then Billy stepped on the scene. I'm like, man, this don't look good. This dude ain't gonna be in the next scene. I guarantee it.
Nope.
So
not with Billy pounding on him.
Okay. You said you were self-taught. So how did you end up self-teaching yourself gymnastics? Because we're gonna get into it, but if you watch the show WMAC Masters, there's no argument. You are the most athletic master on the show because everybody.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's true. You were jumping higher. You were doing more flips. You were moving faster than most of the camera angles could keep up with. So how did you get into gymnastics to the point where you ended up, getting on the show? Not only getting on the show, you made an impact, even though we didn't see you for the rest of the season or the rest of the show, but we'll get into that. But how did you get to the point where you knew enough gymnastics to just help it elevate you?
It's a good question. It was a painful journey. It was a painful journey. I will tell you that honestly. It was a painful journey. We used to live in a city called Marshfield, Mass, and Marshfield is headed towards South Shore, Plymouth area, and I'm sure my family must love thinking back sometimes on the stories of like the stupidity of Erik Betts. Erik, I was known as the person who was always hurt in my house. I kept trying to do these things and getting really hurt. I see, we'll hold up a rope and, hey, let's see who can jump over the rope. And I want to jump higher than I can jump. And I in the movies and the comic books, I'm a comic nerd. The guy would jump over and catch himself in his hands and hold it. So I want to do like the comic book, except I wore thick glasses. And so I jump over, I try to catch myself, and in my head, it's going to work. And as my hands collapse, my glasses break up against my face and split, and I've got blood coming down. So I ended up taking the cushions of our sofa, the armrest, just the little arm pillows, and taping it to my head. And I would learn head spring. I would learn back handspring. I would take one of the chairs and I'd lay on my back because I remember I'm at Copley Library. So I'm looking at figure A, B, C, D, E, F, and G to try to figure out how to get these moves down, and creating my own spotting apparatus by using household chairs. When you're in the city, when you grow up in an inner city kid as well, because I bounced back and forth sometimes living in the South Shore area. And then we had family in Roxbury, where I was born in Roxbury, Mass. If you guys are, of course, familiar with the all-time legendary group, New Edition, they're all from my neighborhood. And so like walking distance from my house. And so City kids will do things like we will find anything to learn how to do what we're trying to do. And when I say anything, I mean anything. And so,
That old mattress sitting there.
So we had the burnt mattress that somebody lit up, and we would take a hanger and we would fold it over and we would wire it closed, and everyone would stand on top of the trash dumpster and jump on the wired one that was burnt, and we'll flip onto the one that's been all pissed all over, and that was our cushion. And that's how I started to learn, man. That was exactly how I learned. And then I went from that to now I'm moving the springs away, and I become the spring, and I'm flipping. My mom took me to Chinatown, and I'm able to look at some of the martial art magazines, Inside Kung Fu, Black Belt magazine. I didn't know that when I would go to some of these martial arts supply stores, getting my tabi shoes and my ninjutsu suits and my hand and feet claws and all these things that I was dying to learn from and wanting to order. Stephen Hayes, ninjutsu, the art of invisibility, and trying to learn how to be like a cat. It's really funny when you look at my life, man. My son just ordered me a book for my birthday last year, and the book was what I used to study to try to teach myself the acrobatics. And it was on the cover of the book. It's a blue book with a black cat on it looking over its shoulders with yellow eyes. Panther was a black guy, a cat with yellow eyes, symbolic of that image that where I began in 1978. And so that was actually what I was trying to mimic. I wasn't actually trying to take anything from Black Panther and T'Chaka and T'Challa. It was more in that direction.
Right.
And so people ask this question all the time: How did you teach yourself acrobatics? And so what I ended up realizing is, if I had a good forward roll, I had a good front flip. If I had a good backward roll, I had a good back flip. If I could do a cartwheel, I could do an aerial. If I could do, you start learning the prerequisite. If I could stand and do a back bend, and I could jump back, catch my hands, collapse, and kick back up on my feet. You start learning step by step progressively. And so when I was flipping, the first time I tried a flip ever, like the first time I tried any acrobatics, was a front flip of all things, just to show you how stupid I am. So I didn't go like a forward roll or a cartwheel. I went straight for Olympic gold.
Oh.
Now the irony is, I made it, and it was from that point and that experience that lit the fire and made me obsessed. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of my problems happened as well. But it was if I could see it, I could do it. So then I learned a word in Marvel magazine about a character, and I learned, wow, what was that word again? Photoreflexic. Whatever I saw, I could do. Now, there's a new movie coming out with a gentleman named Taskmaster. You guys know who that is?
Mm-hmm.
Taskmaster. Almost nobody knew who Taskmaster was back then. That was what I learned. I was watching that going, that's me. I was looking at that guy going, that's totally me. Like whatever I'm studying these videos, the comic book, the way they drew him, he's sitting in front of his TV watching gymnastics. Then he was watching martial arts. Then he like all these different things, and he's breaking it down. And I'm like, Mom, this guy's me. What I didn't realize at the time is, if I flipped and I made it and I didn't get hurt, that was good. Then the next level, if I flip, then after a while, that becomes the norm, and you regularly start making it. So then the next level was, if I flip and everyone goes, ooh, now I'm doing it good. Now I'm doing it right. Then but then that became the norm as well. So then the next level was, if somebody comes over and says, hey, can you teach me how to do that? If I can teach them how to flip and they don't get hurt, now it's really cool. Now I really know what I'm doing. So people always ask, how did you know what you were doing? How did you know if you were doing it right? Right is subjective. And in that time, right was, if I didn't break anything, I did it right. Yeah. If they went, ooh, I did it right. And if I could teach someone else how to do it without breaking something, I did it right. And that was it, man.
That was a great way to go, because my acrobatic career didn't last that long either. Because I realized maybe we weren't cut out for this particular activity.
Yes. Now, I'm learning that lesson right now. Actually, I'm learning why a 50, soon-to-be 3-year-old man isn't supposed to still try to do a double front. And every time I try, my body goes, oh no.
That is great.
Oh man.
It's not supposed to happen.
But the fact that you still feel young enough to want to give it a try is what's great about it. Even if it doesn't pan out, the fact that you still feel that way is the best part about it.
There you go.
Okay.
I will say though, I did make it last year. We'll see if I make it this year.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what. You go ahead. Now, if you do this in front of us, I'm gonna tell you right now, you get 2 pokes with a stick and a 911 call.
I promise you, I'm gonna videotape it and I'm gonna post it.
Oh boy. Okay, that's fine. I can take that.
Yeah,
At least now when we do the show, if it does happen and we are able to see this video, we can tell everybody he made it or he's gonna be okay.
And if I don't, at least you'll be like, all right, folks. Well, he said it. He committed. He followed through. He didn't make it, but at least he was committed enough. He was a man of his word. He gave it his best, and he went out. He went out on top.
Yep. Yep. We wish him well. We hope he gets well soon.
Man, dream big,
Yeah.
Right. You got to. You
gotta dream big.
Okay. You got your film start.
Yes.
And this is according to your bio on IMDb. For those that don't know, it's the International Movie Database. This is where everybody that's ever been in a movie, they get documented here. They let you know, get your information. Yes, this was an ultra low budget movie, but how did you get involved in Shoot Fighter?
You got some good questions. So that's good. Shoot Fighter. Wow. Shoot Fighter. Let me just tell you this real quick before I forget the date, because for some reason I just remembered it. We didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. And I remember waiting till I was on set, and I called my mother on June 3rd, 1992, and said, "Mom, you're never gonna believe this. I'm on set shooting my first movie, and it's with Bolo. Like Bolo's it's in the other room right now." And she was like, "No way!" And I'm so excited. And so she asked me the same question: "How did you get there?" My roommate at the time was a former heavyweight kickbox champion of the world. Thunderwolf was his name. His name. He ain't dead. And so Thunderwolf had already had a spot on that show, and of course you guys know that I almost said Ralph Macchio. That oh my God, I can't even say his name. I'm looking right at him. Cobra Kai.
Oh, William Zapka, I believe.
Thank you, dude. Billy's gonna kill me. I hope he don't see this. So this is early.
Unfortunately, we're not friends with Billy.
Okay. Woo. All right. So here we go. So I knew he was already on that as well, and so at the time, Thunderwolf and I were training at a place. I had joined in later on. He's been there forever. He's been one of the main trainers over at the Jet Center, and with Billy. Man, I'm losing everybody. Benny the Jet Urquidez, and so I was brought in after a while to help train Benny the Jet's stunt team. And so Thunderwolf at the time was part of the Screen Actors Guild. I wasn't. I had been working with the guys for about 6 months and helping to train David Lee, who was the stunt double for Michael Keaton on Batman. And then Danny DeVito had a bunch of henchmen who were clowns. My roommate Thunderwolf was one of those clowns. He's a clown in real life, so it was, finally got paid for it. And so got you. And so unfortunately I wasn't able to be on set and do that whole deal, but it was cool being a part of that. And so he then called me one day on this new movie he was working on and said, "Hey, why don't you come down and audition?" I came and auditioned, and I actually got in that way. And so that's how I got in on Shoot Fighter.
All right, that was like, we get the same question all the time because like I said, we reach out to people. We're just trying to put a quality show together, and the first question we get is, "How do you know these people?"
Yeah, sure.
We just do the same thing everybody else does. We reach out We hope you say yes. If you don't, it's always there. If you got some free time, we'd love to have you. If you don't, we try to find another person who's willing to do it. No
Hmm.
different from everybody else. So
And
I
what
can
you're doing that's
understand
so
that.
amazing, man. What I love that you just said right now, and my son's 18 years old, and I'm trying to constantly remind him of the same thing that you just said right now, which is, uh, if you don't ask, it's
You
always
never
gonna
know.
be no. It's always
True.
gonna be no. It's like, and if you get a no, you're only one step closer to getting a yes. So just keep
Exactly.
going. People are, if I tell people to not be afraid to fail. Failing is the key to success, and so it means, and what that means is this: if you think about column 1 through 5, column 1, the person was never willing to try. Column 2, the person was willing to try, but then they didn't act on it. Column 3, the person acted on it, and now they got a no. And now some people stop right there and they're done. They're afraid. Then the next one gets back up and tries again. And so I said to my son, what's crazy? It's really interesting how we as adults work. A lot of times, if we get a rejection, we stop right there and then. We give up.
Mhm.
And so I said, it's interesting in life when we're born, when you have a child, if your child were to try to get up after crawling and stand up and take a step and it fell and it gave up and it never tried again, your doctor would be checking your child to see if that child was mentally challenged immediately,
Right.
because we're supposed to keep trying. We're supposed to keep taking those steps. We're supposed to build that confidence up and keep going and going. And so I said, it's a hard thing to do, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with Formula 44D. The reason they call it Formula 44D is because the formula was actually Formula D. It was 44D because on the 44th time trying to get in the door, that's the company that said yes. It tried 44 times before they finally got it, and that's the 40. That's the
Wow.
44 of 44D. And so it's like,
Nice.
keep trying, Jaden. I told him, make sure you would try at least 44 times before you give up.
Yeah. And that was the beauty of it because, and Ronnie he's modest, but he won't admit this openly. But if it wasn't for him pushing for this, we would have never got this far.
I love it. I love it.
Now,
It's hard, man. It's hard. Rejection's tough.
but you know what? But it's so much easier now because that fear is gone.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
Yes.
for us to do this, yes, are we hoping for bigger things in the future? Yes, of course, everybody is.
Sure.
But just to have an experience where you see people you grew up watching, and now you're having a conversation with them about their life experiences, you can't ask for more.
And what you just described is what it's like for me on set. That when I'm on set, I'm trying to be cool about it. I'm trying to be cool. So it's a lot. It's easier. Like here, it's easy to go, yeah, sure, and then look away. On set, you're right there, and so it's hard to not do what I just did right there. And like I find myself, I'll spend more time talking to somebody on set who I grew up watching like this, and so yeah and so I almost can't make eye contact because the little kid in me is going, it's him.
Oh, we've been
You
doing
know?
it. We've been doing honestly, we've been doing that since I can't say since Hakeem. I'll say before Hakeem because we had Stanley Jackson on, who was an Ohio State quarterback,
Okay.
and my rookie year playing indoor football, I went against him, and I just remember I was like, damn, I was like watching him like not too long ago. Now he's picking me apart.
Yep.
Okay, this is not how I wanted to meet him, but I'll take it.
Yep.
And speaking of like having that feeling, like those childhood, like butterflies coming back and all that. I gotta tell you, Eric, I'm reading his bio, and this is what blew me up. So I had loved WMAC Masters, but I'm looking at this now. You were a stunt double on Power Rangers, bro.
Damn it, Ronnie, you stole my thunder.
Like, and not only that, but like you were like my two favorite Rangers. So I'm really like having a moment right now, and I'm like,
Damn
this
it,
is literally the
Ronnie.
longest. the longest stunt project, from what I'm reading, was on Pop. Listen, y'all, Power Rangers. Okay, I'm 35-year-old man, and whenever I see Power Rangers, I still go back to when I was 7 years old, like I was in front of the TV trying to do the same dance moves as Zach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all of that, man. Like I was on it. You know what I mean? But
Pop
when the
Cheeto.
Green Ranger came, bro, let me tell you, between that and like seeing like capoeira growing up and stuff like that, I was on it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that brother got it, right? But seeing this, I'm like, Power Rangers, what? Eric, you got to talk about it, man.
Isn't that crazy, man? You know, it's
bro,
Ronnie,
what
I'm
an
gonna fight you for
amazing,
that one.
what an amazing. And you know what's funny? Check this out, guys. You know how I got Power Rangers? This is again, it all comes back to Shoot Fighter. One of the guys on Shoot Fighter ended up being the stunt coordinator on Power Rangers, and
man,
and before that, Walter Jones and I were in a music group together, and we performed on a show that was like the original voice in America's Got Talent. It was called Star Search, and Star Search was this huge show.
Yeah.
And so Walter and I were in a music group called Five is a Jam, and it was supposed to be him and I as lead singers. And on the day of singing, Walter bailed on me and told me he woke up like he can't sing. And I was like, "What do you mean you can't?" Like I don't know the whole
man.
song. And I'm like, "Wait, I'm not even prepared." Like I literally only learned my part, and like I didn't even worry about his part, so I didn't even know the words. And so I was freaking out, man. And so anyway, long story short is Walter and I do Star Search, and I end up trying to get through the song, and and so that was in November, and then by January, I'm getting a call. Oh, I'm skipping a couple of steps. I actually got a call from my agent saying that there was a role for a character, black character. He has roller skates and a boombox, is what they called it. Yeah, the boombox, and he comes skating in, and he's like, "What's up?" And that was what they wanted to perpetuate, and I was like, "No, I'm not doing it. You ain't getting me there. I'm not doing it." And so a friend of ours, Walter and I, she asked me for the same flyer I had, and she said she thinks he would enjoy it, and she went to give it to him, and I'm sure he got contacted by his agent as well, and so on and so forth. And so he ended up getting it. I learned a very valuable lesson in my career from that moment as well, because Walter has changed the stereotypes of African Americans in the industry, just because they had it scripted for him to do lots of things like that on the show. And Walter spun it around from a really proactive, positive way. And he said no, basically. We had an episode where the pudgy pig for food fight. And there's this giant pig monster. And when he shows up at this food festival, the show is very stereotypical. I don't want to say racist, but they were pretty close. And so, the black one was the black one, the yellow one was the Asian, the pink was the girl, the blue was like, it really locked in the gender roles. And so they
now
tried to put
that.
Now trip on this. They tried to put at a food fair, they put hamburgers and hot dogs on the Red Ranger. I don't remember what they gave. Cakes for the Blue Ranger, pretty stuff and pastries for the Pink Ranger, Chinese food for the Yellow Ranger. And they tried to do, watch. They tried to do chicken, bananas, and grape soda for Walter's table. And I looked at him. I remember I looked at Walter and I was like, "If you don't get this off your table, I'm going to beat you." I'm like, "You better not let them do this. And you better not let them do this." And so he had beat me to it already. Walter's approach and my approach, Walter could not have been, he was made for that role. He's some people do it Boston style, which is the wrong style. And then some people do Walter style, which is Walter is more proactive. Walter is more professional. He's not going to overreact. He's just going to be smooth about it and just and it's going to just magically disappear and something else will show up. And so you know, that's what I would say about that. Walter was the dream character. The way I ended up getting the Red and Green Ranger is this: by January of 1993, the Power Rangers had already shot their pilot episode. A lot of people don't know, but the Yellow Ranger was not always an Asian girl. There was a Hispanic girl before that for the pilot episode. Audrey was the Yellow Ranger originally, and Audrey decided to leave the show. And after the pilot episode aired, and then they had to find a quick replacement, and that's where Thuy Trang came in, and she became the new Yellow Ranger. And in the course of that time, they decided they wanted someone to come in who could train acrobatics and film fighting for the cast. So I was hired by the stunt coordinator and by Walter to come in and train the cast. That was my sole purpose. And then they said, hey, like, would you mind being one of the putties, the bad guys? And so I decided to come on, and I was like, sure, I'll be one of the bad guys, and the actors can do their own thing. The problem with that was the putties were looking too good. And so they were like, whoa, that's not working for us. And so in the midst of doing the putty fights and them having time to see how the putties are looking, I heard Haim Saban, the creator of Power Rangers, saying that he was trying to figure out a sound for the putties, because the Japanese footage originally had, when you hit the putties, they sound like metal. And he was also trying to create a sound that would not be considered violent or scary for children to watch. And so what they ended up doing is, there used to be a TV show 1,000 years ago. I don't know if you guys ever heard it, called the Herculoids. Hanna-Barbera. It's called Hanna-Barbera's World of Super Adventure. The Herculoids.
Oh, okay. And I remember that now.
They've got bloop and bleep, and bloop and bleep sounded like this. And so I showed the guy this sound, and he was like, do that again. And basically he, instead of paying me to do the voiceover, he went out and got somebody else to do the voiceover. Little did I know, you guys are familiar with Breaking Bad? I had no idea that Bryan Cranston was doing the voices on Power Rangers back in the day, and that he was playing characters. That was where he got his start. His start in the industry was working on Power Rangers. And so I was like, yo, that's cool. So I ended up wearing the Red Ranger costume. They eventually had me come in and double, which is ironic, because usually we have white guys black facing themselves to double black men, and now here we have a black man in a costume playing the white guy. And so that was very unique. That was unique in itself.
It is what it is.
I'll tell you this though, the big irony is Austin St. John and Jason David Frank are exceptional martial artists who effortlessly could have done their own stunts. And at the time that we were shooting Power Rangers, it was a time where the studios would allow, like my buddy Mark Dacascos back in the day, where they would let an actor do the majority of their own stunts. And so when you have somebody who, the problem is if that person gets hurt, now of course the whole production gets shut down. And so they started minimizing, even though they physically have the skill, they started minimizing it all. And so I ended up doing the majority of Austin's stunts. And then the Green Ranger finally came in, and that was a dream come true, because he was a bad guy, and there is nothing more exciting than playing a bad guy, because you don't have to try to be a leader, you don't have to be a role model, you just get to let loose and do all the crazy stuff. And so being the Green Ranger was freaking awesome, man. It was awesome.
You do not know the anxiety of wondering how many more episodes as a kid was the Green Ranger just gonna tag everybody.
Yep.
Right. Yep. With a flute.
Yep.
Like, with a flute that he ain't even really blowing into, because he got his helmet on.
Right, the helmet's on. So how you blowing into the flute with the helmet on? Yeah,
man. There's hold by the nostrils. He was blowing from his nose.
from his nose with the hole.
Now, you know what? To be honest, I think for me, I'm just gonna say this for me, and my aunt, who I love dearly, I didn't realize was a cartoon head at one point in her life.
Oh wow.
Because she used to, because I was a Power Ranger kid, just like most of us, but she used to always say, because I would be over there, what are you doing? Watching Power Rangers. What, that Voltron lookalike show?
Ultron.
But when you look at it, yeah, because when you look at it,
yeah,
Voltron literally looks like Power Rangers. Well, Power Rangers literally looks like Voltron.
That's more like it. That's more like it.
I did my research. Power Rangers came out exactly 10 years after Voltron. Voltron's first episode aired in 1983.
Okay.
Power Rangers' first episode aired. Power Rangers' first episode aired in 1993. So that was exactly 10 years.
You did really good. You did really good research for America. What you missed, what
happened in Japan. Yes, I know.
Power Rangers was originally called Jew Ranger, and Jew
I remember
Ranger
this one.
was in Japan for 30 years before it came to America in 1993. It was already going for 30 years.
Man, look, we already know this, man. We get all the stuff late. I get it.
We saw this on a documentary, man. They got
really?
about like how they made toys or something like that. There's a documentary on Netflix, and it mentioned that
late.
It's talking about everything, man. Like how they came with the concept, and the different people that owned like the production companies, and it was just crazy.
I'll tell you
that and like VR troopers and all that stuff.
I'll tell you something that probably wasn't on that documentary. Do you guys know who the original Power Ranger was when they were shopping the show? Who do you think the original who would you cast to be the original Power Ranger before 1993 when they were trying to get the show picked up?
30 years ago?
From no, not 30, not 30. 1993.
1993.
I'll give you a hint. I already said his name in the course of this interview right
now.
Oh snap!
You said a lot of names, man. That's not fair.
Right. He stuck with this one.
I'm gonna say Thunderwolf. Maybe
that was close. Okay, close.
Either you, Thunderwolf, or maybe Hakeem.
Okay. What about you? Nothing, Ronnie?
I ain't got
Other than that, I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Mark Dacascos.
Wow.
You guys know the movie? You know the movie
yes.
Only the Strong?
Yes, I know Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat Legacy.
Yep.
All right, you're halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We've actually and I hope, because this is being broadcasted on Facebook and YouTube, I hope Mark is on your page, because we actually are trying to find a way to get in contact with him too. So
there you go. Mark's a great guy, man. Mark is a great guy.
Man, Mark was that dude I hated, because he was always in every movie that I saw him in. He was always in the right place at the right time. We were watching Mortal Kombat Legacy, and he's Kung Lao, and I was like, man, where was he at when they did when they were starting out doing the first and second movie? We could have used him.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Although I got to say this, and I agree with you 100%. I feel that Mark could have been really huge, but he would have been really huge on a B scale instead of on an A scale like he is. And I say that for this reason. It's almost like I have some friends, a great martial artist, good friend of Thunderwolf and I, Peter Sugarfoot Lightfoot Cunningham. And so
that name sounds familiar.
He's lightweight kickbox champion of the world, the coolest guy, man, the most talented man out there. Definitely look up PD Cunningham, because Sugarfoot will blow your mind. But in all that to say, again, he's another example of an incredible martial artist who competed regularly. And back in the day, the OGs that competed, they didn't make UFC money. And I'll tell you what, if you were to watch Thunderwolf, if you were to watch Petey, these guys, man, Peter was the Sugar Ray Leonard of kickboxing. Like, his performances were freaking unbelievable, and he's walking away with peanuts. And it's the same with Mark Dacascos. Mark was not valued the way he should have been in the late, in the early and mid 90s, as well as he is now. And so I'm glad that a lot of these talents are getting their time and their screen time now, because right now, action films, superhero films, Marvel and DC films, all these, the Wu Assassins, everyone's getting theirs now. And I feel it's so cool to watch, man. It makes me so happy. I'm like, finally.
Well, speaking of getting theirs, we're fast forward because Ronnie stole my thunder. We fast forward from 1993 to 1994. You become Panther in WMAC Masters. Now, what was the story behind WMAC Masters and how you became? Because I have a very good question with this, and I hope you have an answer. You probably don't. But the first part is, how did they find you for WMAC Masters, and how did you come up with your nickname?
Interesting. Okay. All right. So here we go. So Power Rangers was doing something called a convention in Miami, Florida, called NATP 1993, and basically they asked us, the cast members on the show, to wear the costume and just walk around and take pictures with kids and do what you do on the set, do it right there. And so we would break out into some type of a kata and a fight scene, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, these guys are the real ones, and everyone would go crazy, and we basically just kind of created a big buzz. While doing that, we were approached to come take a look at a booth that was where a video was being played, something that was shot at Universal Studios lot by a gentleman named Norman Grossfeld, and he had shot a pilot to pitch for WMAC Masters, and he was going more in the direction of more of a kind of WWE direction, and it just seemed really off. It seemed kind of boring, and so we were explaining what it could be more like, and I was showing him, and I said, let's show him this and like that, and he was getting super excited about the idea, because obviously when you see something in person, if you were to watch something in person and it's already got you jumping and screaming, it's going to translate on film for sure, and especially if it's captured correctly. And we were pitching the director from Power Rangers to come over to his show, because he already knows how to capture it, so you're not going to miss the action. And if you don't have the correct action director, the punches won't work, the kicks won't work, nothing's going to work. And so we did that demonstration for him. He was excited. I went home after that convention, and a month later I had a 36-page contract in the mail, and I was kind of flipping out, because it was talking about dolls and toy line, and it was talking about Bandai Toy Company, which is the same toy company that made the Power Ranger dolls, and that they wanted to make a doll in our likenesses, and unlike any doll ever, it's going to actually have your name attached to your character name. So then I was concerned about, are they going to own my name now? Where is this going? And it was overwhelming. It was exciting. And so the contract basically explained that we would be spending 6 months a year in Orlando, Florida, shooting the show and banging out all the episodes for the season, and that we were allowed to try to create our own characters and submit that for consideration. So I had no idea what to do, and so I went to my usual, which is an all-black like Spider-Man. I've been pushing for Stan Lee to have a black Spider-Man since the day I was born, and so I came up with this guy in an all spandex suit, and I gave him bones around his neck and bones around his forearm and bones around his calves, and then a bone belt, and then I did some more research and found out I just basically drew T'Challa, and I was like, what? And I couldn't believe it. I looked in the Marvel Comics, and I just drew like the first Black Panther costume was almost exactly that way. And so I was like, ah. And so I sent them the paperwork I had anyway, and they got excited about it. And they said they're gonna they're gonna take that concept and put it over to their guy. I grew up, like I told you guys earlier, in a city called Marshfield. I was born in Roxbury, but then I later on moved in the Marshfield area. And some of the, it's a predominantly Caucasian environment that whatever. So anyway, the whole point is they would refer, let's just say some of the kids would say what superhero they would be, and then they would ask me what superhero I would be, and they're like, no, he's not black. You're T'Challa. You're the Black Panther. You're Panther. And so they used to call me Panther in 1978. Then I came out here to California, and Petey Sugarfoot Cunningham told me he started nicknaming me Panther. He was like, oh, Panther, you got to hook up with this friend of mine. And he was talking about Brandon Lee at the time. And, oh, you guys would do a great fight together and all this stuff. And Panther, Panther, Panther. So he didn't even know these people from back east. And he was already calling me Panther as well. And I thought that was interesting. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and pick this name as my name and put a positive spin on it? And so that's how the name Panther came into fruition. And there you go.
Man, look, it's funny because as I keep reading through and I'm seeing these different projects, like it's just blowing my mind the people that you were doing stunt doubles for. So here's one that's going to like make my wife happy, right? So Donald Faison, right? And then Tyrese Gibson on a few projects.
Yep.
Yep. And I'm just like, now I got to go back and look at this stuff to see if I notice Erik Betts. You did. Like, this is crazy,
and that's the crazy part. We've been talking about this the last few shows because we talked to Hakeem about Mortal Kombat with a shoot fighter. We talked to Christine about her being Batgirl stunt double. It's like, because it made me go back and watch it. I'm like, yeah, because Alicia Silverstone don't look like she got a fighting bone in her body. Nothing against her.
Nope.
But there's no way she throws a spin kick that perfect.
Nope, not that fast.
Yeah, nope. And now we're looking at you, and to know that you're the Green Ranger, you were the Red Ranger, you were a putty. It's like, man, this is outrageous. I wish.
Big, man, it was crazy. In one episode, I'm the Red Ranger, I'm the Green Ranger, I'm one of Bulk and Skull's buddies. I'm a punk, I'm a pig, and we helped and I did the choreography. 5 in one episode. It was
don't never let nobody tell you ain't got it.
Right. Put that work in, you know what I mean? That's
clearly in one episode. In one episode. Remember to put that on the end of the sentence. Okay. We get to WMAC Masters, and my favorite phrase out of everything, because nobody really had a phrase that I could remember, except for you, and it was always "I'm coming for you," and it was so creepy because you always had the fangs in, which I thought was awesome. You had the fangs, and you did a flip or you did your demonstration before the fight, and then you always look at the screen. And it almost seemed like you was breaking fourth wall. And for those that don't know, because I do have a little experience in this, fourth wall is when you're watching whoever is on screen, and they look directly at the camera as if they know you're watching.
Yes.
So WWE is starting to do it a little more now, but in certain TV shows you see it. The most notable that I can remember was when Rob Schneider breaks fourth wall in Surf Ninjas, and he tells he tells Zatch to go. He should have tried the patch, and he looks at the screen. He's like, "Look who I'm talking to." So for those that did not know before now, that's what fourth wall is. So it was like watching you break fourth wall to send that message and creep out whoever was watching. How did you come up with "I'm coming for you"? Because the first time I remember seeing it was when you fought he and Gwen, who I was me. Shout out to him because we tried to get him on. But I just remember that one. I was like, yo, he's about to serve him something awful. He just looked at the screen and told him he was coming for him. Like, did you ever realize that that phrase would stick as well as it did?
No, no, for sure not. It's funny that you definitely do your homework, man. And you're extremely observant. You know, that fourth wall break for me was always fun with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and so that was where the idea came from me, man.
Yeah,
Ferris Bueller. Like every now and then he's sitting and talking, all of a sudden he just goes, and you go, hey! So I thought that would be so cool, man. And so it's funny that you spot that. But here's the big one. I watched
but that wasn't
all
hard
the
to miss. That wasn't hard to miss because, you know, like you said, everybody's walking through when the fight's about to start. Everybody does a demonstration. Everybody's getting to the site where the fight's gonna happen, and all of a sudden, you get searched by, I believe it was Gerald Okamura, who was one of the referees. Okay, so you get searched by him. Your gloves are tight, your feet are straight.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. That's not Gerald. I know who you're talking about.
And then you just look at the screen, and you're just like, "I'm coming for you, Tsunami." I'm like, "Whoa, hold up, bro. Time out." Because when you look at that as a kid, and you're watching, and you're like, "This fight about to be good," and then you just see him look at the screen. You're like, hey, hold up. I don't even want to watch this fight now.
Right. You know, you're like, I'm not that dude. Like, that's not me. That's the other guy.
You remember all the Tekken video games, right? You know,
yep.
Like all the characters would come out and they've got their signature. The Drunken Master guy would come out and do his thing and stuff. And everyone had an intro and they always had an exit. And so that was where that idea actually really came from for me. I wanted to come up and make sure. I didn't necessarily have the phrase, but I knew I was going after him. And so it was almost, it became a catchphrase just because I was stupid about like the laugh. The laugh was so sadistic and sinister.
And that's what made it jump.
That gave it life, man. Really,
like I don't know how well or how much you go back and look at your work, but we found a series on YouTube. Somebody literally put all the episodes together. It's about 9 hours long. If you go back and look at your scenes where you're fighting or you're just speaking, you look like a sadistic, I'm going to kill you type of person in the show. And yes, the show is for kids, but just to know that there was a guy outside of Turbo who was sketchy and, you know, you got to keep an eye on him.
Yep.
Because and we love Hakeem, but Hakeem was the cool, calm guy. Don't piss him off. Just don't piss him off. Leave him alone.
On and off camera. That's Hakeem. Straight across the board, man.
Yeah. And then you come on and you seem like a nice guy, but when it's time to fight, you turn into this devil. And that was what made
Jekyll and Hyde. Exactly.
Yeah, and that was what made it jump because now you don't know what this dude's thinking.
There you go.
And then you gotta fight him? No, I'm good. I'm good.
There you go. I'll tell you this, man. It's I mean, you just brought up Hakeem. Fighting Hakeem as Panther. Oh my God. Hakeem is, you want to talk about this snake, man. Hakeem it shouldn't be Hakeem the Machine, it should be Hakeem the Snake. Hakeem is a hard man to fight, man. Like, you don't want to piss Hakeem off in life. Like, Hakeem, he squats down and he holds himself at a height of about 5'9". Hakeem's like 6'3" maybe. You know, and he's got these long gorilla-like arms and like he's such a hard guy to fight. Hakeem was
and that's what we were actually, when Hakeem was on the show, that's actually what we talked about before we even got to him, because we were doing the same thing we do with everybody. We're looking up, you know, your bio, your stats, and we realized he was a champ in three different levels.
That's right.
And we're like, I just asked Ronnie one day, I'm like, hey man, how would you fight him? Because you know, I wasn't able to be a competitive fighter for long because clearly my temper was not where it should be according to judges.
Sure.
So I looked at Hakeem and I was just like, how do you fight somebody like that? Because it's not even height you have to worry about. It's more of the reach.
It's his reach. And his legs and his arms, both.
And it was like, if he kicks at you, you can't get close. So how do you fight? And Ronnie was just like, man, I don't even know. And I'm tall, so I wouldn't know how to get close to him.
Let me tell you, I'm going to give you the answer. I watched the interview you guys did with Hakeem. I wouldn't know the answer now, but I got the answer for you then. Here's the answer. You pull him by his hair and you slap him and call him Susan because he always likes those braids, man. You grab him.
Hakeem, I apologize. Please do not come for us.
Oh.
I don't want no smoke. Hakeem, if you happen to watch this, I'm sorry.
Man.
I think Eric's trying to get a rise out of you.
Oh. He said that man.
Crap, because I'm all the way in LA right now.
I think that's
the only thing that saves.
Hey, look, hey, real talk. I think that's the only thing that saves everybody because we all spread out.
Man, he trying to call that man Samson. that hair is a strength. Don't pull that hair. It's over with.
Man,
take the hair off.
Clearly
over with. Man.
You know what? Real talk. Ronnie, here's something funny for you. I actually got away with that during a football game once. This dude he caught a pass over the middle, and he was about to score. And I grabbed him by his hair and yanked him back. And the ref was like, he looked at the ref. He's like, hey, man, you going to call that? He's like, what can I call? A flag on pulling your hair? Thought you like
part of jersey. It's part of jersey.
Actually, it's not. Actually, not. It's
for sure. No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
I was going to say, actually, it's not. It's actually a part of you. So it's not a uniform issue. So you can get away with yanking somebody's hair. Like when Troy Polamalu made that interception at Kansas City and they grabbed him by his hair, there was no flag. You can't call it because it's a part of you. It's not a part of your uniform.
You hear that, Hakeem? You hear that? I'm coming for you, Hakeem.
See, you're doing too much right now. This is not how I wanted this to go. Hakeem, I'm sorry.
Going, come on, Eric. Come on.
Hey, y'all can't be out here like Tyson and Roy Jones, man.
I was about to say, mind you, y'all ain't as young as you used to be.
Yeah, don't. That right there.
I'm not feeling that, man. I'm feeling concerned for Jones.
Me too.
I told you.
Tyson gonna snap. He gonna forget about the whole exhibition.
Yeah.
Yep. No. He gonna take one good punch and it's gonna be like, Holyfield, that's you.
Yep.
Like, do you see how this dude is training for it though?
Yep.
Like it's a real fight. That man's back in shape, like real shape.
Yeah,
I said no. Can't make me.
It's like no.
My girl loves Roy Jones Jr. She's been his biggest fan, and I'm thinking about buying some flowers, some roses for her to lay down on his gravestone when this is over because I don't see it going well.
I told y'all, Mike Tyson beat up the Fresh Prince. What do you think he gonna do to Roy Jones?
Yeah, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. It's gonna be short. It's gonna be short.
Quick update for you guys. Dallas and the Rams are tied in the second quarter, 7-7. Zeke Elliott scored on a screen pass from Dak. So now we're tied at 7. It's great to have football back. I'll say that.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
Now, because this was heartbreaking for me. Midway through, I guess what would be season 2, or towards the beginning of season 2, you get hurt and they write you off.
Yeah.
Not only was that heartbreaking for me because to see 2 black guys in a positive light around that time was one of the best things on TV besides seeing Steve Urkel and Will Smith and Martin. It was something I wanted to ask. And the reason I wanted to ask this was because I'm hoping we can finally get an answer. And the question is, there is a scene between Warlock and Tracer, or Tracy as y'all like to pick with him. And Tracy says, be careful because we don't want we don't want to happen. We don't want what happened to Panther to happen to you.
Right.
Was Panther a member of Chiquito?
No.
Finally,
But
we get an
but
answer.
here's the answer of what happened. It's amazing that you remembered that specific line. You know what's crazy, man? I know exactly where I was when that episode aired that you're talking about. I know where I was that very minute. March 14th, 1996, at exactly 5:34 a.m. Erik Betts broke his right hip and thigh and ended up at the Sand Lake Regional Medical Center with a doctor putting a steel rod in his femur, two pencil size, two 8-inch size titanium screws in his hip, and then one distal pin just above his kneecap, and about 50 staples up the side of his leg. Doctor told me I had an 85% chance of dying. I didn't understand why. I thought it was a bad soap opera, man. He looked at me and my mother and sat me down and said, sat her down. I was already laying down, and said, I just need you. I'm going to give you a chance to get your affairs in order. You have an 85% chance of dying through this experience. I developed what's called a hematoma. My leg was almost twice the size it should be because I had a blood clot. A very large blood clot, and he was certain that there was no way they were going to be able to remove the majority of it. And if you even get a little piece of a blood clot and it goes into your heart or lung, it turns you off like a light switch. And so he called the studio, he called my agent, and again sat my mother and I down and said, so here's the situation. I want to give you time to get your affairs in order. And he's sitting there with an attorney, one of the hospital attorneys. Like, it was a big freaking ordeal. And so sometimes I don't really realize just how big a deal that moment was. That was a life-changing moment. And so they say monumental moments, critical choices, and pivotal people equal who we are. And so that was one of those turning points in my life where I had to make a decision about how I want the next few moments to what kind of catalyst is that going to be to start my life? And is it going to be the beginning of my life, or is this about to be the end of my life? And so I believe the power of the mind and perception and what you see and think and feel, along with prayer, combine them together. I believe this is how we move forward. And so I told my mother, I'm going to be fine. The problem isn't that I'm going to die. The problem is they're going to get away with this. And she was like, okay. And so I went in to get the surgery. They removed the steel rods. They cleared out the hematoma. I came out of surgery. And unfortunately, the anesthesiologist did not route my morphine tube correctly. And when I came out, I had my heart rate, my blood pressure was the equivalent of somebody having a stroke. At rest, you would see my body, you'd see my body moving like this while I'm laying there asleep, because my heart was pounding so hard. And so I ended up starting to say goodbye to people by the 5th day, because I could feel like life literally kind of leaving my body. And it was on that day that the anesthesiologist figured out that the tubing wasn't routed correctly or something or another. And ultimately I ended up getting the morphine. And then it was an upward climb from there. I would never wish a moment like that on anybody's life, but for me, that was a turning point in my life. And so I would never be where I am today without having had that type of an experience. What ended up taking place is Herb Perez and I were doing a fight scene, and everybody back then, everyone was kind of doing some of their own choreography and figuring out what you're going to do in your fight. And Herb's coming from traditional martial artist. He's a 92 gold medalist for the Olympics. I mean, he's not Hollywood Kung Fu. He's the real deal. You don't want to mess with Herb. Everybody was scared to fight Herb as well, because we all know how to telegraph our kicks, but Herb is coming from Taekwondo, where you hide it and he hits you in the face and goes surprise. And so, and Herb, from waist down at the time, Herb was like, I mean, realistically, Herb's body weight was probably, from waist down, Herb was like about a 240-pound man. And then from waist up, he was like 165, 170. And so you're deceived because you don't realize tree trunks are coming at you. And like, and so when you get hit, suddenly you feel like your sternum and your ribs have just been broken. And you're like, oh my God, we got to slow this brother down. Like, he's going to kill us. And so Herb is, that's a whole nother story. But Herb is an incredible martial artist, man. And so to be around so many great competitive martial artists like that, I still was so hungry. The way you guys described watching it at 7 to 15 years old, watching those shows, this ain't gonna kill me. I'm like, this is not gonna kill me. It's gonna take more than that. And so I wanted to get back so bad. And so to just be around these people, the Christine Banner Rodriguez's, the Bridget Baby Doll, I always want to say Rodriguez, Bridget Baby Doll Riley, Bridget, and Christina and Murmur Chen and all these martial artists that were on there, man, they were incredible. That moment when you ask about Panther and what happened to Panther, I was lying in a hospital bed at that time. That's what happened. And so the script, things changed with production at that point, and they were not happy. The powers that be were not happy with the direction that the show was going, and that it was not staying with its original intent, which was to be more like a WWF kind of thing. And that's when they started bringing in Hollywood and Tracer and all these other different, the Chameleon, not the Chameleon, it was Chameleon and some other characters, to try to bring it back to what they were hoping it was going to be. And then it was a done deal.
Yeah, we didn't like that either, because it was like, dude, you just like we saw where it was going, and it was a great story. And then don't get me wrong, the Chiquito thing was a good thing, but it was like you could have gave us a little bit more time to enjoy how it was going at first.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing that you're still here, because with something like that does take a lot, and it's just a miracle that you're here.
Yeah.
So
honestly, and let me throw this out at you, man. Let me throw this out at you. You mentioned earlier Ian Nguyen, who played Tsunami on the show, and I just got to tell you, I've been in this business. WMAC Masters was 1994, 95. I got hurt on 96. I say 94. It's 95, 96, and I've worked with a lot of martial artists. I've had the opportunity to work with Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Steven Seagal, who else? Pretty much everybody. Scott Adkins. I've worked with a lot of amazing martial artists, and I can tell you that Ian Nguyen is one of the single best martial artists I've worked with in my entire career. His accuracy, his energy, his accuracy, his reactions, everything that's required for a film fighter, everything that's required from a legitimate martial artist to be able to have the control so that we can survive the amount of time that we're going to be doing this over and over and over and over again. To give you guys a ballpark of how hard we broke our behinds on WMAC Masters, one shot that you see before it goes cut, one shot that you're watching before it cuts and goes to another angle, just one shot, Ian and I specifically did 28 times. In that 28 times of doing it, we had 2 backflips to do, taking reactions from one of the dome, you know how they had dome matches?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you'll see Ian and I in there as ninjas fighting, because if you weren't playing your role, then you were playing often a ninja in costume helping somebody else, and that was what was going on that show. And the only person who couldn't do it was Hakeem, because it would obviously be this tall giant
the world's
ninja.
biggest ninja.
And so Ian and I are doing these flips. That's 2 times 28, guys. That's 56 backflips for one shot. 56 backflips for one shot, and we still have 12 more hours to go. And so you start realizing, like, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears, and we're not rich. Y'all probably make more than I do. Like, we ain't rich. Like when people don't realize stunt work is grunt level work. Stunt work is you're beating your body up. You're almost selling your comfort level at the end of your life right then for that moment. Think of it more like that. And so back in the day, when I say the day, I'm talking about Dukes of Hazzard. I'm talking about the A-Team. stunt people around that time, they were treated more like the actors. They made much more money than I did. They, like, oddly enough, you would think in today's day we'd get paid more. Not the case. Right now, the stunt community doesn't receive Academy Awards. They're not acknowledged by the awards. And
Nope.
so as you start to look at all these things, you realize, wow, man, like things have really changed. And so a lot of doors have been open, and hopefully doors will continue to open. But yeah, he and Gwen, major talent, major talent.
Yeah, shout out to him. We reached out to him too. Hopefully he clears up his schedule.
Yeah,
So
he's always busy.
him and Larry Lamb and
Larry, I don't
Larry's
know about
a
that
busy
one.
guy.
Larry's been so busy, man. He's just jumping from film to film to film, from Deadpool to, I mean, he's just all over the place.
And it's funny because I saw him in Romeo Must Die, and I was like, because we were watching it on Netflix, and I'm like, why does that dude look familiar? And then I let it play out a little more, and it's the part where they're fighting in the bar, and everybody pulls their guns out.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is him.
Yep.
You're doing too much, man. You're doing too much.
It's pretty wild, especially for me, just looking back, what people have done with their lives and where people went, and what has been a stepping, a stone for some people, and others continue to do what they're doing. And it's been cool to watch. It's almost weird. I would almost describe it like a high school reunion, to be able to see Christina. I mean, man, like Christina Vanna Rodriguez, like. I always, and you have to say her full name, man. When you say Christy, it's not enough. You have to. It's like you pay homage. You pay homage because that woman has been around. She has paid her dues. She has opened so many doors for so many people. And watching Hakeem, there were so many people who loved that Hakeem was representing, and the way he represented, the way he carried himself, the respect he had, and the way that it was not a show with Hakeem. Yeah, as you saw in your interview, Hakeem is Hakeem. He is.
Yeah.
You aren't getting a character. You're getting the man. And Hakeem is definitely a very proactive man. He's a very successful man. He's someone that a lot of kids should look up to as a role model and to try to model themselves after. And it's just pretty cool to see what people have been doing with themselves, man. It's exciting.
That was great. Ronnie, unmute, man.
That was awesome.
I didn't realize I was on
Yeah,
mute,
man. I sent you a
bad.
message. I'm like, dude, you need to unmute really fast. Okay.
Oh, see, I forgot about that. You got to stir.
See. Now, what's life like now that you're? I mean, let's just call it what it is. You're up in age, but you're still. I'm pretty sure you're still training at some point.
Every day.
Do you? I mean, we just saw the reunion with Christina Rodriguez, so we know you still communicate with everybody, but it's not as much. But
not as much, not enough, man.
Is there anybody that was your favorite to hang out with during the show, during Shoot Fighter, during your career? Because I'm pretty sure everybody, at some point, you guys were all doing the same movies together. You cross paths more than we do. So, was there anybody that was your favorite?
I would definitely say I had quite a few favorites there, just because I'm still coming from this little kid mentality, man, where it's like, I'm from Boston, I'm from the inner city, I'm New Edition, I'm from the ghetto, I'm jumping on burnt mattresses, and so I still remember that. And so to be suddenly in a room with such talented people who reach Olympic status levels, or to be around, again, Hakeem the Machine, like, I mean, he might as well be the Machine. He literally, to spar with Hakeem and to play around with him and realize how fast he can close distance. I mean, he ain't even jumping that far, but he's jumping far enough that what was that character on Tekken with the long arms and the neck and the ring? Like,
that was that's Street Fighter. That was Dalsin.
Street Fighter.
I hated that guy.
Yeah, Dalsin. Yeah.
See how you said I hate? That's me. Every time I see Hakeem and we gotta fight, oh man, I hate this guy. I can't get around. I gotta get in close. I gotta eat all his punches just to get in close.
But that was like, he's like 9 feet tall, man. You gotta understand, as a fighter, that's That's frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
Man.
Well,
I don't care
you
who
know, as
you
a
are.
fighter, you're going to eat it to get in there. Once you're
You got
in, you're
to.
in. But you got to get in there. And he crunches himself down. He's like a snake. He literally just coils up and he waits for you to come a little closer. And then he says, no.
Yeah, man. We before we started that show, we was making jokes and we were like, yeah, man, can you just imagine being in a kickboxer fight and then you look at the list, you look at the fight card, and you see you got to fight Hakeem. You're like, yeah, man, about to get this money. And you just look at the card, like, who about to fight? Nah.
No, what
So
you do? That's when you go like this. 22, please. Because Hakeem, you know, Hakeem is talk about dedicated to his craft, man, and he takes that work ethic clearly to everything and anything he touches. And I'll tell you what, man, when you think of the Code of the Dragon Star, the original name of the show was Quest for the Dragon Star. And when you think about just what martial arts itself brings to the community, I wish there were more shows like that for kids, especially these days, because of I mean, look where we are in society right now, man. There's been a complete unravel of what's going on in community. There's a complete unravel right now of family. The dynamic of family has changed so much. I can't tell you before COVID how many times I've gone out to restaurants with my family and watched another family and everyone was at the table on their phone. And I was like, that is so sad. Like there's a complete disconnection of family. I used to love to sit there and talk to my mom and be like, I read this comic book and what's going on in my life and what's going on in your life. And, I saw this show, and there's no connection. There's no eye to eye contact. There's no excitement. You don't get to see the passion in your kids' eyes or your parents' eyes. I mean, it's all being lost, man. And so I have utmost respect for people who come from a time where, I say people who come from a time, but people who continue to instill the values and ethics and morals of a time that land forgot.
Right.
Because that's kind of what it feels like, man. It's getting lost, and I hope that people realize, I hope that people realize how important it is that we kind of reconnect with ourselves, with each other, and with this planet. Because the reason we're having desalinizations of our ocean, the reason our ozone layer is falling apart, is we're disconnected from everything. Like, we're literally disconnected from everything. And so that makes us much more of a parasite than something that's working. If you're not parasitic, then you are symbiotic. And so we need to learn how to be more symbiotic, in the sense of animals will graze in an area and notice it's getting depleted, and they will leave and let it heal and go graze somewhere else. But not us. It's like Agent Smith said, we're the virus of this planet and they're the cure, you know?
Mm-hmm. You have to be so creepy with these lines, man. Now, I have a question. This is just off of my love for the show, but we saw the fights between you and Hien, and I don't know if there were ever, I don't remember it being one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So the first question is, who really wins in a fight between you and Hien if you're Panther? Because Panther was one of the tougher opponents out of the show. So who wins in that fight? And then who wins between you and Yin Yang Man? Rest his soul.
Oh, wow. I can't even believe you went there. I was already thinking you were going to go there, but you actually went there.
I had to, man. I got to know.
So let me say that. This is very interesting. You are good. You are good. So let's confirm something. On screen or off screen?
Well, I want to say both, but I'm just going to leave it at on screen. Because on screen, I think on screen gave you more of an advantage because you were creepier. And talking to you now, that's not how you are in real life, unless you're just hiding it really well. But on screen,
I'm hiding it.
Okay. Well, we'll go on screen. So on screen, Panther with the fangs. I gotta know.
All right. So that's a cool question, man. Again, do you guys know Guyver, the dark hero?
Yes. Yes.
Number two, not number one, not number one. Number two. He and Nguyen is so freaking good. People, you just need to really understand that Tsunami is so daggone good, dude. Like his accuracy, like. So do I think Panther would beat Tsunami on screen? I think he would get lucky. I think he would get lucky regularly. But Tsunami was a fierce competitor, man. He had the energy, he had the accuracy, he had the skill, and he was fierce, man. But Yin Yang, man. Oh man, you kill me with that question. Richard Brandon. Remember I told you about Sensei Yao Li?
Mm-hmm.
Richard Brandon and I go back to before I ever moved to California. Richard Brandon was at that school. So that's how small a world that is. Like before I even knew I was coming to Hollywood, when this guy was calling me Hollywood, Richard Brandon was at that school, Walum Academy, with Sifu Yao Li. And so I've known Richie since about 1985, 86. That's how far back we go. And there's I don't know if you're familiar with a martial arts form called Nunchuan, but he made me promise, because of how crappy I did it, that I would never tell anybody that he taught me.
Oh man.
He said, Eric, I'll show you this, but after I saw how you did it, you better never tell anybody I taught you this. I'm sorry, Rich. I'm sorry, man. But yeah, Richard Brandon, he played. He is so crazy, man. Like in 1993, we did the NatP. Should I tell you guys this? Yeah, I guess so. Here we go. So Richie, this is some behind the scenes stuff, man. You're getting it right now.
Oh yeah.
Richie likes to drink. He's from Boston, man. He likes to drink. And so we are in Miami, and let's just say some people decided that they wanted to try to be wild and crazy and just do some crazy stuff that little kids would be doing at maybe 16 or 17, not the age we were. And so I'm at the hotel room, just to remind you guys, I'm not part of this, but I get called. I get a phone call. Hey, Eric, we got to go help somebody out. We got to bail somebody out. I'm like, what? And so I come down to get a taxi, and this taxi pulls up, the door opens, and somebody dives out like Robin and does a forward roll and lands with his shirt off and goes, ta-da! And it was...
Wow.
Richard Brandon is the coolest, craziest man on the planet. So could Panther take him? I don't know, man. Only because Richie is like, he's unorthodox. He's crazy. He'll do anything. He will come at you from any direction. He doesn't care. He'll take his eye out and knock you in the face. He'll do whatever. He'll pinch his nose in his mouth and blow, and his eye goes, "Pah!" I mean, Rich was so fierce, so intense. And again, we're talking Boston, guys. Boston made Boston strong, so he can take it, man. He can take it.
Yeah, I wish we could have got a chance with him, because he was he was one of those guys on the show that just made you invested as a fan.
Yes.
And to know that you guys literally were the catalyst for our version of Mortal Kombat, our version of all the shows we watched as a kid, that just makes these episodes and these shows so much more better. And I keep telling her, I'm like, man, even if we don't get the viewers that we're hoping for, somebody's going to see this and be like, hey, man, I used to watch him.
Yep.
Like we were just, I just have to say it like it is, man. We were elated when you guys started saying yes. You, Hakeem, Christine, don't tell nobody I said this. They're probably going to see it anyway. But Herb is on. Herb will be on at the end of the month.
Oh, so awesome!
We got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks for
love
that. But
that's gonna be great. That's
But
gonna be
just
great.
but the thing was, we didn't know going into this how big this was going to be for us as people.
Mm-hmm.
And, seeing it right now, talking to you guys, kind of feels like we knew you forever.
Well, and that's
Even,
interesting you said that because I agree. Even before you actually went live, I was thinking when you were saying, okay, hold on, we're going to get ready to go on live. And I was thinking, oh, I forgot we were even supposed to be doing an interview. I felt like I was doing a Zoom call with family.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool, man. I love that.
And that's the best part because everybody's like, we give you the option. You can stay on 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and our these shows have gone on for like 2 hours. Like I think between as of right now, between Christine and Hakeem, those shows go for about 2 hours a piece. So it's like
Yeah.
just having that interaction.
That's
And I
awesome.
wish
That's awesome.
I wish people understood that, if you don't take the chance to at least, reach out. And even if they say no, just they knew you reached out, so they know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you don't take that chance, and Hakeem gave us the best advice ever, and we've taken it and run with it. He told us, "Don't be afraid of the uncomfortable." And like I said, I see you guys because I found you on Carmichael's page because he had tagged you guys, and I knew you were friends with Hakeem, but I couldn't really. Hakeem, you got a lot of friends on Facebook, bro.
Me?
No, Hakeem. I saw you, but I could. But like scrolling down his friends list, you got a lot of friends. And then I saw saw Carmichael tagged you guys in an old picture. I was like, Erik Betts, why does that sound familiar? I'm gonna add him. I just started adding you guys and started reaching out. Uh, it's been working, and we've been blessed to have you guys on.
I love it, man. I love it.
And like I said earlier, to see you and Christine light up at the same time, because it seemed like you guys hadn't seen each other in forever. So
it has been forever, literally.
But yeah, everybody's living, man, or trying to at least.
Yeah. My grandparents, who helped give me some money to come to California to pursue my goals and my dreams, they lived kind of walking distance from the Rhode Island borderline where Christina lives. And so every time I see Christina's face or hear her name, it's always synonymous with my grandparents who have passed on since then. And so it's always like, it's just cool to see family, because ultimately that's WMAC Masters. These are my family, man. So it's good.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And
let me say this, because I'm sure you guys know, but I can't imagine, as I told you growing up, in the lack of access of information and people that you're providing for your viewers, man. Like anyone who's, I want to say this loud and clear. If you have any dreams or goals or aspirations of being a martial artist or an action star or anything, you two brothers are proof that just trying, by having a dream, by having a goal, by giving it a shot and reaching out and calling people and contacting people you don't even know, with the hope and prayer that something happens. And then look at the content you're providing people. 1992 Olympic gold medalist who also ran as a politician in his own state. You've got people you've got major power players. You got Hakeem and all the businesses he's been running. You got Christina, who's been in the game forever, super mega successful. You're talking about Carmichael Simon. I mean, Carmichael Simon was like the original XMA. He'd go out there and his forms, his martial arts, his double twisting, outside crescent kicks. Like, I mean, when the people that your viewers are being exposed to, I can't even imagine that. Like, I couldn't even imagine it. And so I think if I were going to say anything that you should consider doing, it might be to get some of these viewers to actually ask questions so that they can get them answered, of what to do and how to do in case that's something they're looking to do, because that's what I want to do. I want to always make sure I'm giving back because I was there, and I want to help other people have that roadmap to get wherever it is that they're trying to get to.
And we've actually given people the option because we made sure our comment section is always up. But sadly, nobody likes to comment because they're too busy watching it. And they're like us, we're starstruck. And
I get
it
that.
turns out that some of our questions are questions that everybody else had already wanted to ask. We just happened to ask it.
Right.
So
let me throw this out there because let me try and throw something real quick because I'm just thinking about like, okay, what would be some of the questions people would ask? And I'll just say this. Hollywood is no longer just in Hollywood anymore. So if you are interested, hypothetically speaking, about becoming a superhero or a star, I've got a business right now where I'm going to help people from dream to screen is what it's going to be called. And the program has got different modules that you'll call and contact, and I will reach out and give you step-by-steps of how to take your ambitions, your goals and aspirations, and how to make them reality. And so we can get you from in your head to walking your first red carpet. And the concept behind it is to understand that it is a business, and that business is marketing, advertising, publicizing, and promoting, and understanding that you have to start seeing yourself not as the little kid who wants to see themselves on the screen, but to understand you're a product that needs to be sold. And that's a very different way of looking at yourself. And it's a hard thing to learn how to see yourself, to learn the business behind your craft, not just the art. And so a lot of people end up learning the art, but they don't know the business behind that art. And unfortunately, this isn't called Hollywood. This isn't called entertainment art. It's entertainment business. And so it's all about you knowing that craft. And so I hope that this really helps people to figure out, like, you know, oh, there's that missing piece of information I've been looking for all this time.
Yeah, the people that have watched, either whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, we've gotten a lot of feedback. You know, some people come back and watch it. So it's a blessing, you know, to be on a platform where not only are we as hosts living out our childhood, but we've also got people who've seen you or seen Hakeem, seen Christine, seen the multiple football players we've had on, and they're just like, it can still be done.
Yes.
Another quick update. Dallas is leading the Rams at halftime, 14-13. Dak snuck in. Dak snuck in no, it wasn't Dak. I think it was Zeke Elliott again. Scores another touchdown from the 2-yard line. So they take the lead going into halftime. SoFi Stadium looks gorgeous. The Rams, ugly. But that stadium, beautiful. It's talking to football players, man. We're critical.
Yeah, man.
There you go.
All day.
I wish, you know, and I love my mom to death. I can't even be mad at her for nothing she's made me do. But I wish she would have let me keep doing both. And I was doing football and martial arts. I could have been karate kicking like people like Sarge in Necessary Roughness. Not Sarge, but Samurai. I could have been karate kicking people. You know, if Antonio Brown could get away with it, I'm sure I could too.
There you go.
Doesn't hurt to try. Doesn't hurt to try. But
it's interesting. Listen to this, man. It's interesting you just said that right now, because earlier when you were talking, I was thinking, you know, I said this probably about 15 years ago as the first pain started kicking in from all those years of surgeries, and I remember thinking I probably should have stuck with if I had kept going with football. I played it. I was always so fast. Even if I only had 4 good years, I would have made more money in those 4 years than I'd make in my lifetime. Right?
As a newly retired player, I can honestly say I do not miss the nights of 2 a.m. cramps.
Ooh.
The waking up in the morning and hearing bones crack. I don't miss it. I don't. I miss the guys. Shout out to you guys. Everybody that I've ever played with, shout out to y'all. But as a player who has time to heal now, I do not miss those days. Exactly. Ronnie's been retired longer than I have, so I can say, Ronnie, I know how you feel now, being able to wake up and nothing hurts the next day. So be glad.
Yeah,
to an extent.
Now Eric, hold that thought. Hold that thought, and I want you to imagine when you say that right now, right? I want you to remember, I did, I'm going to jump way forward. I did a movie called Fast and Furious, The Fate of the Furious. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I doubled Tyrese in that movie. And in that movie, Tyrese is driving an orange Lamborghini on an ice bed. And they of course paint me down like crazy. And they're going to stick me in an Icelandic lake under the water. They're going to pull me up out of the water, 8.5 feet in the air, 15 feet across, holding a Lamborghini Murcielago door, come hitting the ice, get dragged behind a tank being driven by Ludacris that's got a harpoon on it, and I'm being shot at by AR-15s and 50 caliber guns on top of SUVs. I'm being dragged 55 miles an hour. A missile's going to explode. There's going to be a 60-foot high explosion. I'm going to get knocked off the door. The guys on the snowmobile are going to start approaching me. I'm going to pick up the carbon fiber door, like Captain America, blocking the bullets. I'm going to hit one guy, take his gun, and shoot the other 4. That's the scene.
Wow.
Let me just tell you guys, that was 2016. I still feel that one right here. Now, I still wake up every day.
Before you go any further, my first question is, how the hell did they get you to look like Tyrese? Because clearly, Tyrese's head is bigger than yours.
Man.
Literally,
not only that, not only that, you are like 2 times lighter than he is. 3 times lighter than he is. And may we go back to this? His head is bigger than yours, man. That dude's head looked like a misshaped bowling ball. I'm sorry. It's the only time I get to make jokes about people and not get in trouble for it.
Yeah, I've doubled Tyrese now in 2 or 3 films now. I think 3 films. There's a movie called Waist Deep.
Remember that? I remember that.
Double Tyrese in that movie. I do a lot of driving stunts for him in that movie with Megan Good and Lorenz Tate, and then Tyrese, and then of course I doubled Tyrese on Fast 5. We shot that in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then I doubled him most recently in The Fate of the Furious. They basically paint me down like crazy. I wear a beanie on my head, some gloves on my hand, and again, we're in Iceland. We shot that in Iceland for about 3 months, and so you're pretty covered up except for your face. And that was right around the turn of technology, and so they were using a program, I believe, called Maya, that is capable of taking his face and putting it on mine. So now as the stunt double, you no longer have to hide your face now at all. Right. And just like those new apps that exist called Reface app. You guys know about the Reface app?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's doing the same thing with Tyrese's face. It's no matter what my expression is, Tyrese's face will now have my movement with his expression in his face. And so that's how they did that. That's how they accomplished that.
Man, I just learned a lot in like 5 minutes because I was trying to point that out. Like, how does that even work? Like, he's taller. He's not that much taller, but he's taller. Right. His head is shaped funny.
Yep.
But man, this is awesome. This is awesome. And for those that are watching, don't get me wrong, nothing against the original Green Ranger, but this is the Green Ranger you need to be talking to. And he had us thinking.
Man. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you one thing. All right, you finish first, then I'm gonna go. We got a delay.
They had us thinking Tommy was like the greatest childhood villain, and it ended up being you behind the helmet. Like, come on.
But I'll tell you this again. You know what? I wish I could take all the props, and in costume for the most part I can. But if you ever watch Jason David Frank and you watch Austin St. John, you will know that they are without question like legit martial artists. And I mean legit. Jason David Frank is he actually competed, as a matter of fact. Jason was doing some MMA fights for a while there as well. But he's he's the real deal, man. And back in the day, he was like a kid on without Ritalin. He was just jumping all over the place, jump spinning kicks everywhere, punch. Like he had so much energy. He could have kept up with any one of us.
Now, don't get
Austin
me
as
wrong.
well.
Don't get me wrong. I love Jason David Frank, but I got a discrepancy with him. And for kids that don't know, for those people that are watching that don't know what discrepancy means, I ain't kind of trying to call you stupid, but I'm just gonna tell you what it means. I got a problem with something, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. There is no way. And for those, again, this is the disclaimer. For those that are watching, there was this internet show called Superpower Beatdown.
Oh, I
Or
know you
something
were
close to
going.
that. Something close to that. Because you say Tommy's a legit martial artist. I have no doubt about that. But they had this episode where the White Ranger beats
Yep,
Scorpion.
I knew it.
There's no way that this happens. And Ronnie, I don't know if you saw this.
Which matchup?
Scorpion versus the White Ranger.
Oh yeah, that's not happening. Now, hold on.
But
the Green Ranger versus Ryu, that happens.
No, because in this episode, it's two different versions of it. But the version that they show on YouTube is the version that made me have the discrepancy, because it's clear that move for move, because Jason actually did the show. Jason David Frank actually did the show as the White Ranger.
Yeah.
So he's fighting Scorpion, and move for move, he's pretty much matching him at certain points of the fight, but he ends up winning the fight, which made me have the discrepancy. Because there's no way historically, because if you follow the timeline, if you follow the story, Scorpion is a specter, which means he can't die. You might get the jump on him, but a specter is already dead. You can't kill him twice.
Nope.
The knife catches him at one point, catches him slipping. The little tiger knife catches him slipping, and then he hits him with another move, and then boom, the fight's over. And he takes off the helmet, and he throws his little line out there, and I'm just like, this is bullshit. Dude, this is some bullshit. I was so. If you got it, I'm gonna find a link and send it to you. You're probably gonna start yelling at your screen as soon as you see it.
Wow.
But but for the people that know about that, there are two versions of it. One, the White Ranger wins. One, Scorpion wins. But that was what made me have a grudge against Jason David Frank.
Let me tell you. I'm gonna give you a little trivia. A lot of people don't know. This is a good one for you. So I worked with Jason David Frank first on Power Rangers in 1993, January of 93. So 93, and then in 95, I worked with some guy named Chris Casamassa. You know that name?
Yes, we do. Oh, Red Dragon himself.
Yes, we do.
And also who?
Scorpion.
Yeah. And also who? One more.
What? Scorpion.
Jason
it wasn't
David
Sub-Zero,
Frank.
was it?
Jason, watch this. Jason David Frank's sensei.
Oh.
What?
Jason David Frank.
No way.
Jason David Frank has a school called Red Dragon Karate. That was originally Chris Casamassa's chain and business from his father. And so his father started Red Dragon, and Chris took over Red Dragon, and Jason David Frank is a sensei as a student of Chris Casamassa.
Wow, we definitely got to get Chris on now, because
isn't that crazy?
Caught up. Yeah, that's. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so I can be mad.
Now think of the fight. Now think of the fight of Green Ranger versus Scorpion, and it's like, oh.
Because now you got me thinking, like, because now I got to ask him because we're trying to get him on. We just got to. It's a scheduling conflict, but now you got me thinking, like, did he get mad and beat him up off screen when he found out that Scorpion lost, or did he just make him kneel? Because that would, as a Scorpion fan, that makes me mad, because I was like, oh man, Scorpion couldn't work him, and then he
Of course he could. Of course he could. Of course. That's funny, man.
Yeah, because now you if you like, we never knew how much you guys were tied into our childhood until we started
Right.
talking to you guys.
Right.
And to see it now when you explain it, we've been going back and looking at everything. Like, I've looked at Shoot Fighter like 4 different times just because you, Mike Bernardo, who we've contacted, tried to get in touch with, Hakeem. We've just been looking at you guys in a different light because now we know how much you guys were tied into, and you taught us so much of our childhood that you were actually part of instead of just being on one particular platform. You guys were on many.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
you can't ask for a better platform now.
Well, trip on what you were saying and finding out as you look back on things. If you look back even further, you'll see. If you remember, what was that character? Urkel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember Urkel?
Mm-hmm.
I used to double Urkel when he turned to Bruce Lee.
Wow.
So when you
had me
think about
thinking
that,
Jaleel White had a little skill in him, man. Y'all
and he does though. Again, a lot of these people, like, I keep having to give my props. You know, let me be clear about something. Hollywood has. I'm gonna give Tom Cruise a little credit right now. So here we go. Hollywood has a tendency to first of all, Hollywood has a tendency to take away from everybody. They're taking away from the stunt community. They're taking away from acknowledgement and validation and credit. You know, we used to try to make it okay in our heads to that, you know, we're still not getting our due diligence, but at least we can see our credit on the screen. And now the screen compresses and you get to see the next thing and the credits go by real fast. And you're like, I can't even see my own credit. Like, I can't, like, it's all being taken away. And so I don't need actors then trying to take away from our work by saying that they did all their own stunts as well. Like, that's the last thing I want to hear. And so, however, Jaleel, there were things he did that was unfreaking believable that I would have never been able to play the character as perfect as he did. I would have been trying to be too serious, and he was finding he's plays like a child, but with the skill of an actor and the skill of a man. And so he plays that role so damn well that his Bruce Lee version had me in hysterics, man. It had me in hysterics. And I'm sitting there right on set. And so I to just jump forward into, I don't know, where are we? Mission Impossible 3. Jump forward to Mission Impossible 3. I'm working on Mission Impossible 3 with Tom Cruise and J.J. Abrams. And I know JJ because we shot a TV series called Alias together with Jennifer Gardner, and I helped JJ direct the action for my fight with Jennifer Gardner and I, because he had only shot episodes of Felicity and other things like that, and we had a stunt coordinator there who was okay with action, but JJ liked the ideas that I was bringing to the table, and he ran with my ideas and shot it that way. And so I always feel like, hey, I get to say I helped JJ Abrams, who's like the Gene Roddenberry of our time, who's like the Steven Spielberg of our time. I helped him direct. And so I get on the set of Mission Impossible 3 and I hear Erik Betts, and I turn around and I'm like, JJ, what's up, man? Like, what are you doing here? He goes, what are you doing? And I'm doing some stunt driving. What are you doing? I'm directing. You're directing what? Wow. Like, you're directing. I'm like, you're directing the movie? You're like, you couldn't even shoot my fight scene. What do you mean you're directing? And so it's so cool to watch the growth in everybody, man. But my whole point of this story at this point now is, when you go to look back and watch where all this has come, the action, Tom Cruise, who I used to really have a problem with because I knew his double for years, and he would always say he did his own stunts. And I'm like, man, this guy's an idiot. And Keith Campbell was his double, and I just couldn't accept it. I got to watch Tom Cruise behind the scenes stand on a folded up mat no higher than this high at 51 years old, raise his hands up and throw a standing backflip off of that to the ground. And I know how I felt at 51. And the fact that he physically threw a standing backflip. I know what it takes to do that. I don't care what anybody says. That man is freaking incredible. His work ethic is insane. And to be able to physically pull that off at that age, when your back has got so much freaking scar tissue and calcium buildup, and like you've got so many things going on, bone spurs, you've got no more cartilage in your knee, your hamstrings, everything hurts. Everything hurts.
You just went down a whole list of an average football player, man. Come on,
man. You're not giving me no hope.
Right.
Like I'm only 35. I'm sitting there like, I don't know.
I'm starting to rethink my decisions in life now.
Man, like maybe I should have played football.
Right. Maybe I should have stuck with martial arts. Got me up here thinking about all the stuff I'm about to go through now.
I'll tell you what, man. What's it? Glucosamine. 1,200 milligrams a day of glucosamine. Start now. Trust
me. You're scaring us. Okay.
Yoga. Let me tell you one last thing. Yoga. That was the thing. Hot yoga saved my daggone life.
I can believe that. We do have a couple of topics sports wise we gotta touch actually.
All right.
If you want to stick with this, you're more than welcome. If you have something else to do, we understand. But starting off, Ronnie, know you're gonna be mad about this, but good news. Football seasons came back, gave us some good hope, gave us a lot to watch today. Bad news.
True.
The Browns got beat on by Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. What did you take away from this game?
You know, it's funny looking back at it because, like, I didn't have them win this game at the beginning anyway, but I wasn't expecting the way they lost. I think that's what hit me the hardest. Because looking back at that, I'm like, okay, fresh offensive line. You know, you got one more weapon added to you when it comes to Austin Hooper and the receiving core, right? And then you're like, okay, maybe this third-year quarterback will be able to change some things up, move the ball better. And I know, like, first quarter, he had some bad luck. You know, Calais Campbell's an amazing defender. That was unfortunate. He tipped that up and it got intercepted because it was definitely going to be caught. So I was like, okay, well, that's one thing. I can't blame him for that part. But some of the other decisions that he made weren't there. I know Odell dropped a really easy 3rd-and-2 conversion that killed the momentum for the rest of the game. Like, after that, that was it. And then the kicker missing an extra point and a field goal. I'm like, bro, you taking points off the board that you don't want to have off the board. And that's a different game because if they make that happen, it's 17-10 going into the half instead of 24-6, right? So I'm like, yeah, at that point, it was over with. I feel like it was good to see Marquise Brown healthy because last year he was struggling with some stuff and he wasn't as explosive, which is why they had to do that real simple offense I was telling you about.
Yeah.
With them pretty much just utilizing the run game and then throwing every pass to Andrews, that was their top receiver, you know, because Willie Snead was stretching the field, so Andrews was the guy, you know. And he caught 2 passes today, by the way, too, for a touchdown. But, like, it was good to see Lamar Jackson open up, get multiple receivers out there, spreading the ball around. You know, for you Ohio State fans, J.K. Dobbins had a couple touchdowns. It was cool to see that, too, as well. And it kind of let him get his shine instead of just pumping it down Mark Ingram's throat. So that was cool. From Cleveland side, it was like you had 2 cornerbacks who were hurt. So you lost your starting corners coming into the game. And having somebody to cover like Marquise Brown, he was going to eat. Already knew that. And then on top of that, they pretty much took Garrett out the game. I mean, he had a sack. I think he also had some tackles, but just pretty much doubling down on him. And he was not much of a factor at all. And then not having Mack Wilson out there, I knew they was going to struggle against the run. And it was just, you know, all bad from there too. So I saw them losing, but not this bad. And me seeing them lose this bad was like, okay, so what do I expect on Thursday? I have no idea at this point because Cincinnati actually didn't play that bad on defense when they played the Chargers today. So it'll be interesting to see what they do Thursday when they play each other. But, yeah, man, that one, from a fan perspective, it hurt me, you know what I'm saying? But looking at the game, I didn't expect them to win that, but the way they lost was just terrible. Like that shouldn't have went down like that. Not even with them.
Okay. And you're right because you did say that they were gonna lose, but it wasn't gonna. How they were gonna lose was gonna be the most important part. The things I took away from this because I actually had to write about this. I had to write my article for Cleveland Sports Talk. Then, and the good news is, because believe it or not, there is good news and bad news to this. The good news is you know what you have to fix now
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't a bad game. The momentum was there.
Yeah.
If Seibert makes that first field goal, if he makes the extra point, it's 7-10. Then if he makes the other
Mm-hmm.
field goal, it's 13-10 because they did get a turnover.
Yep,
So
that's true.
your defense was good enough to generate a turnover, but you left your defense on the field too long. Now
Right.
us being football players, we know what that's like playing defense. That's the most frustrating shit in the world.
It is, man.
But it can be corrected. Now, here's the other part to that. You as a team, you made strides. That first drive, they scored. They went down your throat and scored. You went back down their throat and scored. I don't see that this will be a problem. This was for everybody. All of these games this week were totally ugly. From the KC Houston game down
Oh
to
yeah.
the LA Dallas game. This game, believe it or not, this game is actually ugly. They're completing passes. These passes look good, but the fact that you got slow starts, fumbles, interceptions,
Mm-hmm.
sacks that, because you didn't have the time to really prepare for a preseason, which is what you normally do. And then to go about just going straight into hitting, yeah, this was an ugly game for them, but this was not the end of the world. You still got to see Baltimore again.
Yep.
In my mind, looking at this game, they were not 38 points better than you. They were maybe, I give them 24 because they earned
Oh
those
yeah.
first 24.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the game, I think they just called it in personally because that's how it looked.
Yep.
This is all stuff you can fix within the next 4 days because you got a short week and you're seeing Cincinnati, who historically, since Baker Mayfield has been quarterback, they haven't had really a problem against. Now, keep in mind, Kareem Hunt did have 72 yards rushing today because Baltimore keyed in on Chubb, and I don't think that they were, which was a good idea by Stefanski, because I don't think they were ready for Kareem Hunt. They just thought, oh,
Absolutely not.
Chubb's back there. They remembered what Chubb did last year, and they were still
Oh
pissed
man.
about that.
Yeah.
So I think throwing in Kareem Hunt in the backfield was a great idea. Now, let's keep in mind for Thursday. You said Cincinnati played better on defense. Yeah, but let's look at the reality here. It's against the Chargers, who are really no better than Cincinnati now because
True.
Phillip Rivers is gone. You still got Melvin Gordon, who is a threat anytime he touches the ball. But this is for the sake of this discussion. This is a far different team than San Diego or LA, my bad, whatever. I still think that was a dumb idea. But this is a different team than the Chargers. And what I mean by that is you still have a healthy Odell Beckham, a healthy Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, who actually had a hell of a game today. And you still got Kareem Hunt, you got Nick Chubb. This is going to be a problem for Cincinnati defensively because you don't know who's in the backfield at what point in time, how they're going to be used. Because you saw it today when Chubb was back there, they keyed in on him. When Kareem Hunt's back there, he's running through people almost like a Derrick Henry did.
Yep.
So Thursday, I'm expecting a different team to show up, and I'm not. Again, I told you when we first started having the football debate, if the Browns can keep their head above water going into the Raiders game, I think they got a good shot at still coming back to win this division. Just because they got beat on by Baltimore does not take away from the fact the defense actually played very well. They were tired. They were tired. And you see Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins and then throw Lamar Jackson into that, yeah, you're going to get tired because you got to chase every last one of them.
He did a good job against Lamar.
Exactly.
He stopped him from running, so that was good.
But the downside to that was you forced Lamar to beat you with throws, and that's what he worked on all offseason, and it showed.
Yeah, he did.
Now, here's the keys. Here are my keys to this game against Cincinnati. You have to get at Joe Burrow early and often. You get at Joe Burrow, it's going to cause a problem for the offense because outside of A.J. Green and Mixon, there's not a lot to speak of. That offensive line is subpar at best. And because it's subpar at best, you have to make it to where Myles Garrett doesn't have a field day. You cannot double team Myles Garrett forever, all game. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work.
True.
He's too damn strong. He's too tall. And on Cincinnati's offensive line, who is there that can stop him or at least hold him up? I don't see anybody doing it. I see him doing it for a quarter and a half, maybe. I don't see it for a whole game. So that's the first key. You got to get a Burrow early and often. If you take A.J. Green out of this game, all they have to rely on is Mixon. I don't think that'll be a problem. It hasn't been a problem in the last couple of games, so there's that. And score. You have to score points. At least if you don't score points, you have to hold on to the ball long enough to keep your defense off the field. And that was the only problem that the Browns really had today, was that they couldn't keep their defense off the field. Too many 3-and-outs, a couple turnovers, and for God's sakes, keep Baker focused. Keep that man focused, because when he's focused, he's on fire. He's hard to stop. He wasn't focused today.
No, he was looking around, looking crazy. I don't know what his deal was, man.
Well,
his head was somewhere else.
To Baltimore's credit, they had a blitz package designed for him, and those delayed blitzes is where the Browns had a problem, because you're already in your motion to block, chip block or whatever, and then you see a free blitzing linebacker, free blitzing safety coming through. That does create a problem. If Stefanski can get them to recognize that sooner, it won't have a problem against the Bengals, because the Bengals don't have any real linebackers that are really I'm going to kill you threats. They're just guys that know how to plug the hole on the run. They are not good cover linebackers. So Hooper and Njoku should have a field day, if not Kareem Hunt and Chubb.
And speaking of plug in the middle, Geno Atkins is out for Thursday's game.
Well, there you go.
So you can run all over them if you want. And the thing is this, man. When I look at this game, and it started off pretty smooth before that tip, because they came out throwing to Chubb. And I was saying this last week. Nobody is expecting that at all. So when this man goes up, hitches, turns around, he's open, because who thinks Chubb's going to catch a pass? Nobody's looking for Chubb to catch a pass, whether it's in the flat or slightly up the middle. You're not looking for that. You're not looking for that.
Or Hunt.
So he's just like,
Hunt.
Right. So he's like, okay, I got the ball. And I'm like, this man's catching passes? What is going on? Like, that was like the first drive, and that drew me nuts. I'm like, oh, this is about to be different. At least I thought it was,
Now, but here's the thing about that. Like I told you, at Ohio State, he didn't need to do that. Well, not Ohio State, at Georgia, my bad. It's Chubb I'm talking about. At Chubb didn't need to catch passes. You had a good enough line to where that hole was open long enough for you to scoot through. And then you got enough speed, you got enough breakaway speed. So he didn't need to do that at Georgia. Neither did Kareem Hunt, even though Kareem Hunt clearly has the better hands between the two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, here's another thing about that. You talk about the line, and what made me a little nervous was, so the rookie got hurt, Jedrick Willis, and it was just crazy because like he was having Calais Campbell was eating that dude up. Like
He wasn't ready.
he was not ready for that man. And this is part of what I went back to when people were looking at me crazy because I believe it was the Giants that took the offensive lineman from Georgia with a higher pick or whatever. And I was sitting there like, that's the dude you want. You want him or you want the guy from Louisville. Everybody's looking at me crazy. I'm like, these edge rushers, man, like if you get a really good edge rusher, because you gotta remember, man, Jedrick Willis was not seeing that at Alabama. They ain't have to worry about edge rushers because you got somebody in the backfield like Tua, man, that dude take off when you need to take off. You ain't gotta worry about
Right.
that. Who you gonna worry about blocking the edge rusher trying to get a blindside, blitz coming at you and all? They ain't think about that because they knew as soon as they overshoot the dude, somebody open right there in the pocket ready to take off. Defenses can't do that against Alabama. So now you gotta be like, all right, we got this dude in the NFL situation where he moves to the opposite side that he hadn't played, and now you guarding a Pro Bowl defensive edge rusher like Calais Campbell, your first game.
Yeah, that was really bad.
I was like, he ain't gonna do, man. I mean, I got faith in the dude that he'll get better, but seeing that first game made me nervous. I'm like, all right, well, we're not gonna worry about that. We'll let that just be what it is. That was a good pickup for Baltimore. Shout out to them for that win. But yeah, they got to get this W this Thursday, man. They have to.
Yeah. Okay. Erik.
Yes, sir.
We got the notice that you got to go eat dinner. We're not going to starve you.
I saw my son waving at me at the car. I've looked over and he's like, come on.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us and talk with us. It was greatly
a pleasure,
appreciated.
an honor meeting both of you guys. I love what you guys are doing, man. Don't stop.
We appreciate that. You're always welcome back. Maybe we can sort of get a WMAC reunion going on later in the future, but anytime you want to be back on, you're always welcome. Very, very appreciative. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Hey, and so I don't know if you guys know, but if next time you watch Avatar, you guys ever watch Avatar with the blue people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The big joke is I'm the black guy who doubled the blue guy played by the white guy. So Jake Sully's Avatar. The white guy in the wheelchair, man. I'm his avatar. So watch that. When you watch that movie, you'll see there's a scene where the Jake's character leaps over a bunker, shooting down at the guys inside, the army guys, and it's myself and the Rock's double, and we're the last ones being killed. And you'll see us playing military soldiers, and you'll see us doing a whole bunch of stuff. But it's been a fun career, man, and it's been a fun adventure and a fun ride. And so, if I want to leave anything for people out there, kind of like what you're doing right now, you describe the way, listening to how you guys described your career right now, and in this platform that you guys have opened up for not just yourself, but for so many people who are going to look in on this on YouTube and look back and be like, oh my God, dude, look at these guys were they're the original OG. Like they made it happen. They didn't sit around talking about how cool it would be if this happened and that happened. They went out and made it happen for themselves. And that's what it's about, man. So keep doing it. Do not stop. Do not stop.
We appreciate that very much.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Erik.
Definitely, man. It's been a pleasure, family. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your dinner. We'll see you later.
Absolutely, guys. Take care, man.
You too. Take care.
All right. Peace.
Later. Oh, man. That was awesome. That was awesome.
That dude was amazing. That was great.
Yeah. Can't ask for nothing better, man. Okay. Because I know you wanted to talk about this, even though you probably wasn't even thinking about it subconsciously. I know you did. Cam Newton makes his New England debut and beats the Dolphins 21-11. I believe he ran for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. He did. He really led the team in rushing today.
Yeah, and even though the game was about Cam, it turns out the defense showed up as well because Ryan Fitzpatrick was picked off 3 times. And, they pressured him and hurried him. They caused him to throw interceptions he normally wouldn't throw if there was nobody in his face. do you do we see rather do we see New England keeping their stranglehold on the AFC East, or was this just a one game flash in the pan?
I feel like they'll definitely be in battle for the title. I'm still going to go with Buffalo this year as far as the AFC East, but I feel like they definitely are going to be in contention for it for sure. And what made me nervous going into this game was the fact that they had so many guys who opted out, due to COVID from the team. Like they led the league in people who had opt outs, and someone like Hightower, a couple other players who were key pieces in last year's defense were like, yeah, I can't put my people at risk, blah, blah, blah. And they opted out this season. So coming to this game, I'm like, I wonder if it'll be closer than it should be. And it was closer than I thought it was going to be. But I feel like, this is going to be one of them games where even when they travel back to play, when they go back and they play, at the opposite team's field and all of that, it's still gonna have the same feel because for some reason I don't know what it is. Miami and New England always have this weird like thing going on where they give each other fits. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't
It
matter what
does. It
level
does.
each
It does to
team.
me anyway.
Now, well, you know what? I will say back when the Dolphins had a really really good secondary. This was like probably 04, 05, something like that. Because offenses wasn't happening with them, but like their secondary was nasty. And it was giving Brady fits. Like every time he played the Dolphins, it was like, oh, here we go again, playing them again, And he had one of the lower completion percentages against them. And it's just like historically, it's always been like that with these two, man. I don't know if it's like a division thing or something like that. If that's what it is, but I don't know, man. I feel like it's definitely going to be another good game when they do play each other the next time. But I don't know. It's just hard to say right now because you figure, like you said, Fitzpatrick normally does not make mistakes like that, and they force that man to, throw three of them in one game. So that's just good coaching.
Yeah,
It's just good
yeah, it
coaching,
is.
man.
But
And
you
you,
know,
you know how them
Belichick's
coaches
a
are.
defensive mind anyway. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. For
now
sure.
here's the interesting stat for those that are Cam Newton fans per se. So remember how going into this season they were saying most of the media was saying Cam's not really a passer and
Hmm.
he's not really, his accuracy isn't where it should be. Cam was 15 of 19 for 155 yards. Now I know that's not a lot, but just think about the accuracy in that. And 15 of 19, so you only missed four passes.
True.
And I'm pretty sure those were like long shots down the field, trying to test your arm, see how far you can get it.
Hmm.
And even if they weren't, 15 and 19 is still pretty good. Even though we all know historically, New England doesn't throw the ball a lot. They mix it up. They are the most balanced team in the AFC, if not the entire league.
That's true.
So to see 15 of 19 for 155, I'm nervous for the entire AFC East because what if that's just part of the plan? Meaning, what if Josh McDaniels opens that playbook even more now that he's seen Cam against another team? What if he opens that playbook even more and he tells Cam have at it? Because granted, 15 and 19 ain't bad.
Hmm.
It's not spectacular.
Right.
It's not even Patrick Mahomes like. But think about who we're talking about. We're talking about Cam Newton, former MVP. Not only does he run now, but with the offense and an offensive coordinator that's going to cater to his strengths.
Hmm.
What if he's McDaniels has seen enough to open that playbook and everybody in the AFC East is fucked? Excuse my language, but that's where I'm going with this because that's what I can see happening.
You know, I can actually now that you say that, I can see that happening, and I feel like in order to do that, if they take an approach that it's similar to like what Baltimore's doing, and they let that man use his legs a little bit. Because the thing is, okay, we get it. Like Cam Newton's not the same Cam Newton from Auburn first and second year. He's not going to be running the ball 30 times a game, and trucking through cats, and all of that. But the thing is, he still got some wheels on him for sure. He still can run, and he only did it when he had to. He wasn't like just, oh my gosh, I see an opening.
Right.
It wasn't like that because he's matured as a quarterback. So you figure, like you said, he was very accurate today. He has to get used to the people that he's throwing to. So you figure someone who, like Edelman, who's been with Brady for 8 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
The thing is to have one, quarterback throwing to you that long, who had a really strong arm, is kind of, dropped a little bit or whatever, which we saw today in the Saints game. I won't get into that. But like the thing is to have someone like that, and then you bring Cam in. They just got to get that chemistry together, and kind of go from there. Same thing like if we go over to the Colts game, right? Phillip Rivers is not used to T.Y. Hilton. That's just
Clearly
is what it is. And
Clearly.
once he links up with that dude, once he actually utilizes like knowing the gaps and knowing like how far to lead him and how high he can throw it and all, it's just gonna take time for that chemistry to be there. And when I saw the stats, I'm like, okay, yeah, he got a lot of garbage yards, stuff like that. I get that. But to have someone like Ty, who arguably actually had very similar stats to DeAndre Hopkins. But if you have a different team that you're on, or if you have a different offensive line and different things like that, he's right there with him.
right.
Different quarterback. Like you can't knock the dude, but he's been battling some injuries and stuff like that. But he's actually healthy this year. So it'd be interesting to see, man. I just feel like with New England, they definitely could make a run for sure. I just feel like for some reason my gut is just telling me like this looks like it could be a year for Buffalo to do some damage. I was surprised to see though, because this is something that I looked at too. I was surprised to see how much John Brown was still a factor with Stephon Diggs in the game. I thought that would take away from John Brown when it came to the
Why would
Buffalo
it?
Bills game. Well,
Why
you
would
figure
it?
someone else like that with that amount of speed, like I don't think they're used to having Diggs on their team right now either. I think it's still an adjustment for them. Same thing if you look at Houston, them having Brandon Cooks now. Like,
But it
you know what I
gives them
mean?
another dynamic.
It
That's the
does.
important part.
It
That's the
does. But
important part.
your go-to guys though. You know who you can
Yeah,
go to because
but
you've been with them longer.
but here's the thing though. Like you said, once that chemistry is built up, and like I said, that just adds another dynamic. So say for the sake of argument, use the Browns as an example. Say you don't Odell doesn't go off like he's supposed to today. Because if it wasn't for Baltimore's front seven, I honestly believe that secondary would be up shit's creek because
Oh
you
yeah.
letting Njoku first off, you letting Njoku go off. Then you let Jarvis go off. The only person that was missing out of that was Odell and Hooper.
Mm-hmm.
So in this situation, in Kansas City situation rather, you got Cooks. Why wouldn't it happen? Why would it not? So why wouldn't you think that it could be that dynamic? Because I think that's where it's headed, especially with Buffalo, especially
Yeah.
with well, there's no secret that you don't have to have that dynamic in Kansas City. But just for that, because we mentioned them, it does play out like that in Kansas City because you really don't know who to look for because you got Kelsey,
Oh yeah.
you got Tyreek, you got a plethora of running backs there. It could be that way, and you know Diggs only enhances that situation
Mm-hmm.
because now it takes the stress off of him.
Right.
I it could go that way. Well, like I said, this was going to be an ugly first week. We knew that. Everybody
Yeah.
else was in denial, but we me and you knew that it was going to be an ugly week because there was no preseason. There's only been a handful of practices, and at that level, you need a training camp, which was basically 2 months of practices to get ready for that, and you didn't have enough time to build up the chemistry. And some teams took advantage, other teams were not able to take as much advantage. But the season's going to get better, folks. Just hold tight. It's going to be an ugly first 2 weeks at least. Just let it ride.
Right. And for those of you who are thinking about like the differences, so you had mentioned this earlier, Mel. You talked about the preseason. So yeah, most players don't want to necessarily do the preseason because it's a longer season for them and more games, prep stuff like that. But this gives coaches that time to be able to work out some of these kinks and have more real time look as to what the offense and defenses can do and all of that. So when you take that aspect out and you're like, oh, first week you're actually playing the first week, not like a preseason game. It's different now because you're like, okay, we want to run game speed against some actual opponents.
Well, here
It's
you go.
hard to do that. Right. And that's the thing. And it's hard to do that against a practice squad. It's just different because you're not going up against somebody's, starting 11 on the opposite side of the ball to give you an idea what this really would look like in the game situation. So
Right.
that's the difference I saw when it came to preseason being gone. I'm like, okay, yeah, it gives the players longevity. And the cool part about this, I would say for now, some teams may be jealous of the fact that it was Cleveland and Cincinnati who got the first week to be able to have a short week. Because you figure week one and you get a short week the first week, you're still fresh.
Right.
You're going to be tired, but you're fresh. You're not week 8 trying to do two games
I
in a
didn't
week.
even think about that.
So you starting the season off with 2 games in a week, then you get 9 days off to come back and do your third game.
And you got a
Like,
hell of
bro,
a lot of
you
practice days in between.
you fresh. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. So like you figure if Cleveland can somehow be 1-1 after this, and then they get extra time to prepare for the next game at home against the Washington football team,
it's
gonna
the
be a legit
Redskins,
game.
man. Shut up.
The
It's
Washington.
still the Redskins.
I want to call them the Red Team. Let's call them the Red Team. I don't have a problem with that. Let's call them the Red Team. They're wearing red.
Yeah, you're
Washington,
right.
there you go, folks. Washington Red Team because they're wearing red. Okay, nothing to do with skin. Someone who's indigenous. All right.
Yeah.
Red Team because they're wearing red, dog. Let's do that because this whole football team thing, I can't do it.
I'm not saying Washington
I
football
can't
team
do it.
in a legit.
It sounds like a fake team. It sounds like a fake team on like. Remember Madden back in the day? We had little weird like teams they had on there that was souped up and big alien looking things and all
the
other weird names.
team.
Like, yeah, the Tiburons and all that. That's what the team looked like. It's like a Tiburon team.
You know what's funny?
Man,
I have Madden 98 in my collection. I still remember the codes to get those teams. And one of the running backs because there's 2 teams on there, 2 super teams. It's the Tiburon team and it's the EA Sports team. Yeah. One of the running backs on the EA Sports team was named Chili Dog. Go back and play it. It's just hilarious.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of big players, so this is something that I was surprised with, and this is something you pointed out when you said Cleveland actually did pretty well in defense when they were tired. So what people don't realize with Baltimore is there's a fullback they have that played defensive tackle in college, converted to being a fullback because he got hands and because he got quick feet. Having him in the backfield to block. Right, but like you 311-pound fullback and you a run-heavy team,
you're not gonna stop.
You can't do right. What you gonna do with that in a short yard, bro?
And you got to figure out
short yardage.
And you got to figure out if Lamar has the ball, if Mark Ingram has the ball, if J.K. Dobbins has the ball. You're not.
You're not stopping it, and you know it's gonna happen. You know it's gonna be one of these players, and you can't do nothing about it.
I am confident. Since you brought that up, I am confident with the film they have now. I'm very confident they will have an adjustment for that come next game.
Oh yeah, they'll have an adjustment for that. But it was just like first game, man. When you ain't got no preseason, I mean, even with Cleveland, you could see all of that. And the thing is, like, there were some plays where Baltimore wasn't as crisp as well. But when you're playing off of, momentum shift and you got like turnovers that are easily being given to you, it's just a different feel.
Right.
You don't really think about the mistakes that were made or some of the miscues that they had on their end because they had 38 points. But at the end
Exactly.
of the day, they still didn't look as clean as they did last season. And they're making these adjustments, trying to make sure they spread the ball more, which is cool, and air it out just a little bit more. They are going to rely on that run, obviously, because they're good at that. But they've shown today, like, we can air it out if we need to. And Marquise Brown got his speed back up, so that's going to stretch the field a little bit more. Willie Snead was getting his, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, okay, I see what y'all doing. And then, of course, adding Dobbins in there, who actually has better hands than Ingram. He
Yeah.
said it here.
But Ingram's stronger. Ingram's a stronger
Oh,
back.
yeah. Ingram's not. See, that's the difference. Like, and I had an argument with somebody about this literally yesterday. They said, "Don't you expect Dobbins to be in the whole game?" I'm like, no.
Mm-mm.
I'm
Why?
like, eventually.
No,
Eventually.
not even. Not
Well,
Ingram.
when Ingram's gone, right? When he's gone,
When
he
he's
finally
gone,
retires,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm saying. But like,
that ain't gonna be for another 3 years.
oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, because Dobbins has to get stronger on that end to be an every down back. In the NFL, he's not ready for that workload in the NFL. At Ohio State, he could do that, and he didn't have to necessarily carry the ball as much there because they were, how dynamic that offense was, man. They was
Yeah, he's
getting
spreading
out
the
there.
ball out all day, every day.
He had to do that, right? He didn't have to do that. But you look at a guy who comes from a school like that, who has such a dynamic playbook, right? And then you go look at someone like, Hunt or Chubb, who came from schools that had these different type of offenses. Some were spread, some were more of a pro form, a little bit tighter on the line, pounding up the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. You know what I mean? And it preps you for this at this level. Will he get there? Yeah, he'll get there, but he don't have to do it right now. It's going to keep him younger.
Yeah.
His legs are going to be fresher. You got someone like Ingram out there that's going to do that for you.
And right now, Ingram's got the hot hand. So why would you take that out of his hand? Why would you take the ball out of his hand?
Exactly. Which was funny because I was like, they're definitely going to be throwing to this dude more. Because they were keying in on Ingram like, Baltimore's keying in on Chubb.
Right.
So Ingram didn't have the many rushing yards at all today. They were like, okay, if Ingram got the ball, we know he's going to be running something.
Yeah.
Look for that.
And Ingram's not going to catch the ball as often.
Exactly. So them acquiring someone who has both speed and hands, who may not be as strong, but he'll get there. He'll definitely get there. But to have someone with that dynamic of quickness coming out the backfield, true H-back quality, it's just like, wow. Because, yes, Ingram can catch, but dude's strong. You know what I'm saying? And he was plowing through dudes when he was at Alabama. And the thing is, having someone like Dobbins, man, just gives you that different dynamic in the backfield. It's just going to be crazy. Like, once they plug him into more plays, and as the season progresses, it'll be very interesting to see what he does, man. Very interesting. Yeah. That's a good pick for them.
Okay. Last topic of tonight, because this was the game of the week for everybody. Tampa Bay and New Orleans go into a shootout, sort of. And New Orleans gets the win 34-23. The stat line for this is what I wanted to bring up, because we were watching it, and we were watching the media tear into Brady, asking, or questioning whether Brady could hold up at another team. He's been with New England for 20 years. How's he going to hold up in Tampa Bay? He was 23 of 36, 239, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. But, again, 23 of 36, 239, 2 touchdowns is the first part. The second part of that, which was the 2 interceptions and the 3 sacks, was a testament to New Orleans defense. Now, the reason I'm saying it was a testament to New Orleans defense is because if you think about this, New Orleans has arguably had one of the better defenses in the NFC for a long time. Nobody just talks about it.
Yeah,
so
no one does.
For the first part of this that I wanted to talk about was Tom Brady, because we all know it's been his stigma since he left Michigan. Even at Michigan, Tom Brady can't throw the long ball. Tom Brady isn't as accurate as everybody thinks he is. and Tom Brady doesn't like to get hit. Two of those are true. Tom Brady cannot throw the long ball like he used to. Tom Brady does not like to get hit. But then again, what quarterback does?
Right.
What quarterback has honestly raised his hand saying, hit me, hit me? None. Okay? No quarterback in the NFL, in college, in high school, even in Pee Wee, likes to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
His first game as a Buccaneer, he throws for 239 yards and two touchdowns. He was going up against arguably one of the better defenses in the NFC. What was your take from Tom Brady's performance this game?
And this is something that a couple of people I was joking with earlier because they were talking about, okay, with him leaving New England, is he going to be that dude still, and granted, he is older, so there's that factor too, but like you said, the long ball isn't there really. And having someone like, Godwin and like Evans, so they're not like terrible at wide receiver either. So they're decent there. It's just kind of scary to see because the Saints defense is really good. They don't get a lot of credit for what they've done, like you said. But the thing is, man, when you're going up against the offense that has Alvin Kamara and you have, a few other players, Latavius Murray they added who did okay today, and then now you got Emmanuel Sanders out there, and you got Michael Thomas, obviously. So for this defense, and then shout out to Jared Cook as well. I ain't gonna dog him like that. To have a defense like this go up against an offense like that, week in and week out, you're gonna be ready for stuff. You're gonna be ready for a lot of different looks. You know what I'm saying? You got practice squads and all of that, but at some point, team one gonna have to face each other just to give you a feel of what it's gonna be like. And let me tell you, when you go up against guys on that level in practice all the time, and you go out and you play Tampa, they ready for that.
Right.
They're ready for that. So it's hard for me to answer this question because I feel like, can I say that because Brady's on a different team that he won't be as good? This game doesn't tell me that. At the same time, I feel like as the season progresses, is he going to end up being a Tom Brady that people know, or is he going to be like a Phillip Rivers? I don't know. It's hard to say because you figure here's another issue I have too. Even though it's all the game of football, NFC and AFC, man, it's a different feel.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a totally different feel. You know what I mean? So looking at that too, it's like you gotta get adjusted to that as well. It's gonna be different.
Yeah, you do. But here's my thing with this. The only thing I can really complain about with this game was that it wasn't long enough. Meaning I know what Tom Brady can do. And because I know what Tom Brady can do and I know what Drew Brees can do, I'm wondering if this is the end of that rivalry because clearly this is going to be a who's better than who, and who's gonna take the division for however long that they've got. Because Brees has already stated he's living on borrowed time. The stat line for him, he threw 2 touchdowns, but he was 18 of 30 for 160. I think personally that had a lot to do with chemistry and practice time.
True.
But even with that, I don't think this is over. And because I don't think that this is over, I think that the next game is going to be more awesome than this one because now you know what you're getting into. And we all know it's no secret. Brady makes some of the better adjustments, almost along the lines of Peyton Manning. I love Tom like the next person as a football fan, but as a football genius, if it wasn't for the fact that Tom had the better team, I don't think Brady would have been as good as advertised in New England if he doesn't have that team.
True.
So with that, I'm going to say we're not done with this story. We're not done with this discussion. And I can't wait for round 2, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the NFC South handles playing against Tom Brady.
And let's remember, too, with them now being in the same division, they're going to see each other again in Tampa.
Right.
So that's going to be very interesting. to see two quarterbacks on this level in the same division is very exciting for the football watcher. Because the thing is,
Right.
like, even though they're older, they still do what they do. They still do
And
what
do
they
it
do
and do it to the
and
best of
do
their
it
ability.
great. Yeah, like it's like there's a slight dip, but not enough of a dip where it's like, oh, we're gonna lose because they're out there.
Right.
Nope,
Right. And
not at all.
like I said, these first 2 weeks of the NFL they are gonna be ugly. Anybody who's telling themselves different, you're lying to yourself because you, as a football player, you need practice time, you need training camp to get to where you need to be mentally during a football season, and you need that preseason to see what you can do against another team.
Definitely
These first 2 weeks are going to be ugly. After that, all bets are off. Everybody's going to be smacking everybody. I guarantee it.
true.
All right. With that being said, we're going to wrap it up. We'd like to thank Erik Betts for being guest on our show and giving us a lot of history on stuff we did not know about. Um, you can still follow us. Don't forget to follow us on here on Facebook on our like page. Subscribe to us on YouTube because, like I told you guys, we got some big stuff coming up, and we are having a ball doing this. I don't know about you, Ronnie, but I love it, and I can't wait for next week because it's for those that are watching and those that are gonna watch, y'all are gonna flip, especially a specific group of fans are gonna flip when you see our guest next week. Not gonna give it away right now. All I'm gonna say is this man invented the selfie. Anybody tell you
Yes,
different, they're lying. This man right here, who's gonna be a guest next week, he invented the selfie. So just pay attention to the week or on our fan page. We will be making posts. Uh, be sure to check out the Friday night super fight this week. Some of y'all are gonna like it. I know Ronnie kept saying it. He's gonna like it. So just keep watching, keep paying attention. We got a lot of stuff for you guys.
man, it's been a good ride so far, Mel. It's gonna be even better as we keep going on. Definitely loving the different people that have come on here. Like he said, shout out to Erik Betts for tonight's show. That was amazing. You are a good dude, and we definitely look forward to many more that are to come later on. Man. This has been amazing. This has been amazing.
Yeah, it has. All right, for 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, I'm Mel. That's Smooth. Peace.